have 3 there. Thank you. Right. Thank you, everybody. We'll make a start so that we can keep to time. Welcome everybody to the SBRI competition launch, which is essentially the objective for today. My name is Michelle Carter, and I'm Head of Transport at Innovate UK KTN. I've just put my email address down for you, because then, but you'll get the slides after the event as well. If you are bidding into the competition and need some support in finding new partners, or want to get some feedback on your application, please drop me a line and I can have my team support you with that. But we'll circulate the slides afterwards. So I just got a bit of housekeeping first of all, which was, let's just get our priorities right. So you found the refreshments, so I don't think anybody can miss those. And also the lunch will be served outside there, and the toilets are through the doors there and to the left past the registration desk. We are live streaming the event as well, so we've got cameras at the back of the room. We do have delegates attending online, so thank you for everybody online and welcome to you as well. There are no fire alarms expected today, so if it does go off, there are 2 exits. There's one straight ahead and to the right, and then also there's one on the left past the registration desk. There will be staff on hand to help us, but apparently we are congregating at the monument. I think that was everything I had to tell you for today. So in terms of the running order for today, so obviously I'm going to hand over to the Minister to give a formal welcome, but then we'll head straight into the competition briefing. And also there'll be an opportunity for you to ask the panel some questions. And then there'll be lunch, and then we'll get into the presentations from the challenge owners as well. And then we've got a series of pitches as well from selected organisations. And then, if you stay to the bitter end, there'll be some refreshments at the end. So it's really important also, part of the objective today, please go and talk to people, find out what they're doing, and you may find new partners to help with your application process. I also have another announcement at the end of the day as well, so it is worth sticking around for. Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to hand over now to Hugh Merriman, who is the Minister of State for Rail and HS2. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. It would have been a bit weird if I'd been turning up from another department, which may not have had so much relevance to you all. But thank you very much, Michelle, for the introduction, and also to Innovate UK and Innovate UK KTN as the arm for organising this event. Look, it's great to see all the representation from the rail industry here, all of the talents and inventors and innovators who are looking to bring new products to market. We know that innovation isn't easy to quantify. It takes talent, creativity and insight to develop a new product or service and get it to market. And we welcome this talent and these new innovations on our railway. Our railway, and we're very proud of this, is the safest in Europe, but we want to make it even safer for the workforce and passengers. So technology is operating on the line rather than humans. Our railway is decarbonising our transport network, but we need to remove more diesel trains from the network, ideally without expensive and intrusive overhead lines. And our railway offers a whole range of ticketing options, but the digital platform can improve choice, remove the need to queue, and get passengers a better price to entice more and more people onto our railways. For all of these challenges, we rely on those of you in this room who are innovators and creators, and that's why we support the innovation life cycle. Real funding for real ideas with a real prospect of transforming the landscape, and that's what First of a Kind is all about. Just to give a few case studies, the deployment of digital signalling is already underway on the Northern City Line and the first sections of the East Coast, with the Brighton Main Line, Midland Main Line, West Coast Main Line expected to start in the next Network Rail control period. And that's progress towards a modern signalling system that makes managing capacity better, easier and smarter. On Great Western Railway, they'll be trialling new fast battery charging technology on the network, with the UK's first battery-only train entering scheduled passenger service on the Greenford line. And this is a significant development as we build momentum behind decarbonising traction energy and allowing us to therefore cut emissions. We have passenger trains which are being fitted with technology underneath to test the railways for defects and conditioning, a testing mechanism which can now be done on a continual basis by taking thousands of images per minute rather than by less safe and more intrusive human interaction. These industry investments are testament to the innovation in action. And the government wants to help support the sector, build momentum behind new technology and support through the first-of-a-kind innovation competition. The department has funded this competition since 2017, supporting the demonstration of mature technologies to encourage take-up of promising products, with nearly £54 million in funding to support over 150 projects so far. A substantial number of these are now in service across the country today. And there are many success stories, many opportunities which have been grasped through First of a Kind. Atmo's air quality monitoring tool, which makes it easier than ever before for stations and depots to monitor and improve the air quality environment. Seatfrog's train swap project, now in place across a number of operators, which allows passengers with standard fares to quickly and easily bid for last-minute upgrades to first class before they travel. I should say ministers are not really supposed to take advantage of that. Even though it's value for the taxpayer, we should be seen not to be taking advantage of it. And we've got Hack Partners Hubble technology, which is in use across multiple network rail routes, which scans video from train-mounted cameras to quickly and accurately identify and address the kinds of line-side maintenance issues that can so readily disrupt our services, from overgrown vegetation to faults with overhead lines. And Birmingham University's Hydroflex project with Porterbrook, which I've had many a year of involvement with, which has achieved the first mainline demonstration of a hydrogen-powered train in the UK, retrofitting a conventional train, which brings us ever closer to the reality of a net zero railway. And this is just a snapshot of a few projects. Many other products are also making progress towards commercial implementation. And yet more still have recently been helping the sector to better understand the innovation landscape. Of the 24 winners of the First of a Kind in 2022, 7 were funded to complete an initial phase to establish feasibility for projects mapped to a theme of low emissions and a greener railway. And upon completing that phase, the most promising projects would then be selected for a second stage of funding. Every project completed its first phase, generating useful learning for themselves, their partners, and the industry as a whole. But I'm delighted to announce that Innovate UK have awarded second stage funding to Siemens Mobility for their project, which enables train batteries to charge from standard local power supply cables, and to Wobtec, who are using kinetic energy recovery to cut emissions from idling diesel trains in stations. Together, they will receive almost £1.5 million in additional funding over the next 20 months. And that will support them through the demonstration phase. And I'm excited to see what they will deliver once they are through that demonstration phase. All of that brings me to our new competition and the launch today of First of a Kind 2023, and to a new theme and the big challenges for rail today. The consequence of a fall in passenger numbers is a fall in revenues. All the while, I'm afraid, costs continue to rise. As a government, we cannot sustain the railway's overdependence on the public purse. We need new innovations to reduce costs and increase value for money for passengers, but also for the taxpayer. And that will be the overarching theme for this competition. And all projects funded will need to address this challenge. Digging a little deeper into that, we've isolated the questions that a project might answer. How do we improve the customer experience and help attract and retain the passengers that the railway depends upon? How do we make assets more effective, reliable and easier to maintain? How do we optimise train operations so that the planning, decision-making and services make the most use of the capacity we have on the network? My department is making up to £5.3 million of funding available for projects across these three themes. But on top of this, I'm very pleased that HS2 Limited is also offering £1 million of its own funding for projects that will make rail systems installation quicker, safer and more cost-effective for high-speed rail. And I know our partners from Innovate UK and HS2 will tell you more about these themes and the opportunities as we go on throughout the day. Just to close, last Friday, I had the pleasure of visiting Unipart Rail in Doncaster. They partner with the UK Rail Research and Innovation Network, which is itself a consortium of universities from across the country. As I saw, this partnership accelerates rail products from research and development into market applications, not just for this country, but globally. It was refreshing to see some brilliant inventions, some which were incredibly straightforward to be explained to me, but others incredibly complex for a humble lawyer such as myself. And to see these being put into action and brought to the marketplace was incredibly refreshing and made me feel very proud to be a minister in an area such as rail, where we do have such great innovators. Our innovators are creating these products, and our industry is using their own expertise and presence to bring them to market. It is a wonderful partnership that we have in this country, and we should be proud of everyone that does this, and I mean everyone in this room that also does this. So this specific investment I'm here to back, through First of a Kind, signals our intent to back the innovators to answer the big questions. Innovation is tricky to quantify. If governments knew which technologies would become part of the furniture of our future, then we'd have the easiest job in the world. But that's not possible. What we can do, and what we must do, is supply the right support at the right time to the right projects. First of a Kind 2023 will help develop novel technology that can make it to market and make a big impact. Fostering that environment that allows you, all of you in this room, the natural growing conditions to innovate. So thank you for everything you do, everything you can do, and everything you can bring to the market to make our railways not just the safest in Europe, but the best in Europe as far as a passenger experience is concerned. And what I would also say and encourage you to do is to keep thinking big. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Minister. In my defence, I did pause momentarily to make sure I got the rail and the HS2 the right way. Yeah, that was really good to hear what that level of investment is going to be for this competition. But we'll move on to getting more details into this competition now. So what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to ask all the speakers to come to the stage, and then we'll run through them sequentially. So it's a good sort of bulk of the session now, where we're going to give you an overview of the competition and its scope. So if I can ask Clara Ludinova, Rhiannon Lucas, Jonathan Kelly, Howard Mitchell, Declan Meiklejohn, Kelly McGrath and Lydia Weir Blankenstein to please come to the front. And what we'll do is we'll run through the presentations, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. So if you can hold your questions to the end, and then we'll get a good Q&A session in. So thank you. So Clara, you're starting the session, so I'll hand over to you. I just need to press.
Good morning, all. My name is Clara Ludinova, and I'm the Innovation Lead for Rail from Innovate UK, and I would like to welcome you all here at the launch of the First of a Kind 2023. So this is the 7th of the First of a Kind competition delivered by us on the behalf of Department for Transport, and excitingly this year we have also HS2 as joint funder for the separate competition strand. So I will take you just quickly through the agenda for this part. My colleague Rianne will introduce you to Innovate UK and SBRI. I will take you together with the HS2 team through the technical scope and the eligibility criteria. And my colleague Lydia will take you through the application process, finances, and all the other bits you have to do to apply for the competition. So, quick introduction. Mark Hens is our program sponsor from Department for Transport. Howard Mitchell and Jonathan Kelly is program sponsor and lead from HS2 team. My colleague Declan is portfolio manager. Unfortunately, he can't be here today. And then Kelly and Lydia are also from competition team. And you met Michelle and Rianne from SBRI team. And I will hand over to Rianne.
Thank you, Clara. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to Innovate UK for those of you that don't know who we are, although hopefully on the basis that you're all in this room, you at least have some background about us. So Innovate UK is part of UKRI. We form the UK's research councils. We work with government directly to invest over £7 billion a year in R&D funding. And that's through the 9 academic councils that we work with. We create knowledge with impact. So Innovate UK is the government's innovation agency. We fund the most cutting-edge technologies, and we support business-led innovation in all sectors, all technologies, and across all of the UK, and sometimes worldwide. Our mission is to help businesses grow, and tools like First of a Kind is one of the ways we do that. Thanks to innovation, the UK ranks 4th in the Global Innovation Index. Innovation accounts for around 50% of labour productivity and growth. So we know organisations and companies that invest in innovation will grow and will develop. Innovating companies are also more likely to export and grow that way as well. So now I'm going to talk to you about SBRI, which is my specialism. It's the Small Business Research Initiative. And I'm going to say straight away, ignore the S and the B for those of you that are in the room panicking that you don't meet the small business criteria. It's actually a tool to help government and help businesses and organisations work together. SBRI is all about helping government solve tough challenges where a solution doesn't already exist. So we've heard from the Minister about the challenges that the railway is facing, and we're hoping that in this audience, some of you can help us solve those challenges. Over 100 public sector organisations have partaken in SBRI. It's a well-used tool, it's tried and tested, and on the basis that we've been running First of a Kind now since 2017, we know it works. So what is SBRI? SBRI is pre-commercial procurement, so we're investing in solutions that aren't at a commercial stage already, and that's where the pre-commercial comes in. It requires a lead customer, and ultimately we want that so we can help solutions become commercialised and end up on the rail network and in use. It's focused on outcome-driven solutions and specific challenges, so we're going to tell you what those challenges are in the scope, and we want you to develop an outcome for those. Unlike a grant, SBRI is a contract for R&D services, so you are contractually bound to deliver what you've said you're going to do in your application. So some of the key features, and this is probably the one that everyone likes the most, is that it's 100% funded, so there's no matched funding required for SBRI. It's the UK's implementation of EU pre-commercial procurement, so SBRI is just the brand name it's known by in the UK. There's a contract with the lead applicant only. You can subcontract should you need to, and if you can justify those costs. But ultimately, the lead applicant is still responsible for the delivery of the project. One question I do get asked quite a lot is around the intellectual property. happy to discuss that further in detail later, but ultimately, as the applicant, you retain all the rights to your intellectual property, background and foreground. What it does mean as part of the SBRI contract is that the public sector has a royalty-free licence, so in this case the funder, to the intellectual property you develop as part of the project, so the foreground IP. Ultimately, we want to see you commercialise and exploit, and that's what this competition is all about. In terms of the eligibility and SBRI in general, there's no limit on the size, the type of the organisation. As long as you can meet the challenge, you are welcome to apply. It's open to EU and EEA applicants. Everyone must be able to demonstrate a route to market, though. Just a few quick points to remember when you submit your application. You're going to be assessed on your ability to commercialise. This is a contract to deliver a specific outcome, so be sure you can do that. You must include VAT as part of your application, and that's because you're providing us with an R&D service. So this is a services contract. You must not include profit within your application. SBRI is all about risk and benefit sharing. The benefits to you are you that retain your IP, you get a contract to work with government directly, so it's a not-for-profit exercise. Once you've submitted your costs, we can't increase them, so please check your finances carefully. And ultimately, explain the problem that you're trying to solve. So this is all about outcome-delivered solutions. Explain how you're going to meet that challenge. And finally, please look at the contract online before you apply, because the contract is non-negotiable. These are the terms and conditions, so if you're not happy with the contract, please don't apply because we can't change it afterwards. So I'm now going to hand back over to Clara, who's going to talk you through the scope.
Thank you, Rhian. So the scope, as I mentioned, it's funded together with the Department for Transport, who is making about 5.3 million available for the competition, and by HS2, which is up to 1 million funding. The main goal and objective of the competition is the same, regardless of the priority theme, and that is deliver a real demonstration to the UK's railways. And there's an overarching principle for this year, and that is cost efficiency and increasing value for money. And that is, again, regardless of the priority theme, you will have to showcase how your technology is able to either save money or increase the revenue and the value for the technology. So now to the priority themes. So TFC competition strand, we have 3 themes. That is customer experience, reliable and maintainable assets, and optimized train operation. In high speed 2, we have a high-speed rail system installation with 5 themes, and that is slab track installations processes, cable troughing and cable laying, installation of related equipment to European Rail Traffic Management System, tunnel fit-out installation, and electric multipurpose vehicles deployment. So again, as I mentioned, the main objective is to have the real demonstration. So at the end of your project, you will have to create an event where you're able to invite your potential rail customers and other industry stakeholders where you can showcase your prototype. And you have to work with your rail industry partners and integration partners to be able to achieve this. Here there are the links to the competition, which was open this morning. So now you can go and see the full details. So the common objective, again, I will repeat in few of them, is the rail demonstration. You have to work with rail industry partners or integration partners. You have to de-risk all the aspects before you put to the competition. So you have to make sure you are able to deliver what you promise in your application. So for example, you have to make sure you are able to do the demonstration at the end. And also another bit is evaluation activity. This is the second year we are running this part of the competition. And it is, again, you have to prove whatever you promise in your application that you're able to deliver it. For example, if you're saying you're able to save 50% of the cost, how you are able to prove it. cost efficiency and increasing value for money. So this is a long-term strategy for the rail. And again, regardless of the priority theme, please prove how you're able to achieve this. And now, a bit more in details for each of the themes. I will start with the customer experience. So here we are seeking projects which will help to attract and retain rail passenger through the improved rail experience. I will not go through all the bullet points. You can do it in your own time, but we are looking for example, to make the rail travel more accessible for everyone, improve the customer experience, especially when there's any delay or disruption on the line, improve safety and security, make customers are able to obtain the data in real time as they need it, and make the rail travel experience more pleasant for everyone. Also create hubs around the station, so it's just not a place you just go and leave in 5 minutes, but it does attract the wider society around it. Also, how you can bring AI into customer experience. And now a bit of the eligibility criteria. So as I mentioned, you have to work with rail industry partners. So you have to work with owner of the rail asset. You have to work with experienced railway organization, an organization which has the potential to be your customer. And you have to also include a potential integration partner. So bringing anything new to railway is challenging. Everyone knows that. So you have to work with someone who knows how challenging it is, and they are able to help you. And you have to have a letter of support signed by a senior individual from the potential railway organization. So this is important. So you need to find someone who has enough authority to actually make things happen for you. You can apply for up to 300,000 for this theme. And one important part is, and that is similar for all the themes, you have to be able to spend 50% of the funding by the end of this financial year, which is March, and remaining 50% of the funding the following year. It is because our budget is tied to financial years, and we have to make sure we don't slip between 2 years. Your project can be up to 12 months long, and you have to start by 1st of October. Reliable and maintainable asset theme. Here we are looking for projects which are focusing on extending the life of the rolling stock and passenger-facing assets, for example, stations, and how we can make the repair and maintenance easier, more cost-effective, and especially how we can deliver more for the customer and for the passengers. So that is a theme which is connecting with the first one, because it's customer and passenger focus. So this includes how we can make the reporting of any repairs and defects more easier, how we can upkeep the train in more cost-effective way, how we can use more predictive maintenance, how we can encourage the change in the passengers, so they're a bit more responsible for tidying after themselves, and how they can report any failures and fault themselves, how we can reduce the human input in upkeeping the trains and stations, and how we can bring more automation into the processes. Also, again, including AI, and how we can use the future-proof design for any maintenance. Eligibility criteria are very similar. You have to work with rail organization, integration partner. You have to have a letter of support. Here you can apply for up to £400,000. And again, you have to be able to spend 50% of the funding by March and 50% of the funding following financial year, up to 12 months long projects. And you have to start by 1st of October. The third DFT competition theme is optimized train operations. And here we are looking for a project which will help to improve train planning, decision making and support the services, how we can use effective use of capacity and support train service delivery. So, for example, having new improved innovation simulation tools, how we can prevent and mitigate disruption and speed up the recovery after any disruption. Again, AI, big thing in this theme. How we can connect different data resources and make them more effective, especially for the decision making. How we can reduce the disruption after any signaling failures. How we can allow more enhanced regular space services through the automation train regulation, and how we can generally improve any train operation. Eligibility criteria, again, are very similar. You can apply for up to 400,000, 50% funding this financial year, 50 following, and up to 12 months. So that's the 3 DFT competition strands, and I will hand over to Howard and Jonathan from HS2 team.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks very much, Clara. So John's asked me to just give a little bit of a background as to HS2 and the scale and the innovation story that we're telling at HS2. And I think it's really good context for the conversation that we're hoping to have with all of you about your innovation and your ideas. Innovation story at HS2 is around scale, and it is a very, very significant rail programme. I'm hoping everyone's heard of it. If not, you may want to get on the internet and look it up. But what we are trying to deliver there is a legacy for the UK. And that legacy comes with a responsibility for us to deliver innovation at a scale. And deliver innovation is a really important part of that statement. We have the time and scale to take some of the ideas from quite early stage all the way through to implementation as business as usual. And that's the mission that we take on as our innovation at HS2. So how are we doing so far? Well, we're very, very heavily into a civils construction program at the moment, as you can imagine. It's the first new greenfield railway that's been built in the UK for over 100 years. So we are very, very much in this phase of the program which is focused at civil engineering. That is now quite a mature program, and we've got over 200 active innovation projects in that space. Wherever we can, we're delivering new innovations. So we've got around 1.7 million tonnes of carbon being taken out of the baseline of HS2 due to new ideas, technologies, and techniques. We've got a very, very significant pipeline of ideas from people such as yourselves, and we are working with businesses, creating collaborative teams in order to deliver them into the program. So overall, we've actually, to date, and this is why I have a regular conversation with my CFO, what's the value of innovation? Why should I keep giving you money for these ideas? And we have justified that by giving a very, very significant return on investment, which is why we can work with the team at Innovate and provide more money and funding today, because what we're finding is the return on investment is brilliant, not just for us as a program, but for the UK taxpayer. So we've got over 350 million of enabled savings in the program just from the last 2 years alone. And so from a relatively small team, that's a pretty good return on investment. In fact, it's around 70x. So those mathematicians in the room can figure out what my budget is from that. So what else we do is we work with other businesses, other funds, other government bodies to try and get additional funding into your projects. So what we do is, if you're successful at this phase, we will work with you and nurture that idea, but we'll also bring in other experts and other areas of funding, because we're aware that these initial funding pots may just be the first steps on that journey in terms of scaling. But scaling is what we aim to do, and that's what we want to do with you. So, have I skipped one there? Before I hand over to John to talk about the detail of some of the things we are doing, I just wanted to talk about why rail systems and why now. So, as you can imagine, most of you will have seen this huge construction site that is now running from London to Birmingham and north. 140 miles of rail systems will start to be installed on that construction environment pretty soon. Where possible, we want to make that the cleanest, fastest and smartest process than we ever have before. We've never done a high-speed rail installation of this scale, and some of the processes that we currently use in high-speed rail installation are pretty old-fashioned. There are much better ways of doing things. We can look to other sectors, whether that's automotive or manufacturing, for some of the best ideas, bring robotics to the table, bring new digital technologies in order to make HS2 the most efficient fit-out that we've ever had. So I want to hand over to John Kelly, who has been leading this with the Innovate UK team, to talk to you a little bit more about the specific details of our competition. John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Howard. I just want to pick up on one point, and one of the reasons I got Howard up there to speak to start off with is talking about the importance of taking industry and innovators along this journey with us. It's really important to not just see this as a competition, but a route to market, a chance for you to scale, something that's really going to impact the legacy and standards within HS2 and other high-speed projects. If you see, most of our challenges related to the focus on automation, becoming more efficient in terms of cost, but also taking people out of harm's way as well, and coming up how we can use robotics and innovative solutions to really make this world class. Conscious not everybody will be able to see this slide in detail. I'm aware that the pack will be shared after as well, so you'll be able to get into detail of this as well. But one of the really important parts of this is we've been working closely with the rail systems team to really evaluate how we're going to deliver rail systems. Now we've got this opportunity to work across a huge area to really create efficiencies. I think me delving into this a little bit now will help explain a lot of the challenges further on. These guiding principles are there to allow for automations, for it to be the main efficiency driver. As we mentioned, this is going to be 140 miles just in phase one, so there's an opportunity to scale. But also, we've worked closely with the civils team to make sure we got the opportunities in terms of handovers. We're not just getting small sections. We've got areas where we can use automation and really deliver efficiency at scale. Plus, we plan to use industrialised delivery techniques and bring that kind of manufacturing approach onto site. And there's a clear sequencing of how things are going to be delivered. So there's approaches that we can take, we can learn from, and we can deliver time after time in the same way. This is an effective way to install what really is something different. It's a shift towards something new. It requires new processes. It looks towards innovators to release new technologies and to implement robotics across that site. So for us, it's really important to have the background of why we're pushing this and why we've got the chance to scale. We mentioned the themes. These are probably the kind of key areas within that principle, guiding principle there. We have the slab track. This is probably the main system, the main difference of high-speed rail to the conventional network. These are 5-ton slabs that are going to be installed all the way across phase one and phase two. These are not easy to move around. They need to be laid to millimetre precision. You can see the need for automation, the need for plants and different technologies to be able to gain that advantage that's been done before in Europe, but never to this extent in the UK. And we want to bring that UK industry along with it as well. We have the cable troughing and cable laying. Again, these are simple things, but never been done at this size of scale. And we need to come up with automated processes to do it. Communications, signaling, key secondary installations. This is again a chance to support operations and maintenance, not just within high-speed rail, but the conventional network, working with other partners on Innovate. Tunnel fit out and installation, all the way from fixing, wiring, inspection. There's such an opportunity. From my understanding, there's only about 7 minutes between London and Birmingham where you're going to see outside on phase 2. That's not all tunnels, it's cuttings, but at the same time, there's so many more tunnels. I think it's about the same extent as Crossrail. So again, there's a chance to really innovate and take that opportunity forward. And a little bit of a curveball at the end, but we know we're going to have to be flexible with our approach. There's loads of different processes, parts, logistics that need moving around in tight situations, in tunnels, in areas that are at risk. So that flexibility around multi-purpose vehicles and deployment is key to us. Understanding that everybody else will get the slides at a later date and not go into too much detail as they're on there already, I just wanted to pick up through what we see as the key areas. These are big pieces of scope. So what are the key areas and solutions or challenges we're looking at across this? So slab track installation being one. As we mentioned, this is precise, but this is big. So there's one about placement. If we can reduce the need for adjustment across this area and this length of track, it's really important to us. The fixing to the bearing layer in terms of grouting, drilling, all these automated solutions can come into play. Cable troughing and cable laying. Again, if we can increase the speed at which we're doing this, we can get this up and running faster. The merging of processes, are we thinking about being able to do this at the same time in terms of the cable laying and cable troughing? And we want this, again, not just for high-speed rail, for the whole network. Speaking about comms and secondary installation, it's really important to us that we have precision in terms of what we're looking at. Some examples around this area fall into Belize's, but we can get into a whole array of secondary installation that is really important to how we manage the new European standards in terms of traffic management systems. And it's never going to be rolled out at this scale, or hasn't been rolled out at this scale previously, so there's a real opportunity to take an advancement in this area. We mentioned about tunnel fit out and installation. But again, these are risky areas, working at height, censoring in terms of looking at where everything's placed. There's so much opportunity to be able to do something here. And then finally, we mentioned about the MPVs in terms of the vehicles. Think about all the logistical challenge we have to get on that network, all the sites we have. Access points are difficult, all the different parts and materials we're going to be moving around in tight situations, and it's a real key to us be carbon neutral in terms of what we look like in the future. So when we say we want electric vehicles, we want to move away from diesel, and it's no good for us having diesel vehicles in them tight environments where we have to move people in and out of. It's just not beneficial in any way. Finally, I just want to mention, in terms of this is a chance for you to set a new standard for high-speed rail. This is the first opportunity we've done in terms of rail systems, the first time we've really engaged the market with something of this size and this scale. So it's really important to us to reach out to you guys and take industry and innovators along with us. I have one more slide, Clara. Is it worth me going into that at the moment? As just in terms of, we've already discussed it before in terms of what that looks like, but some of the changes or differences from DFT. The project length is 6 months, but in terms of the timeframes in which you can submit ideas, it's a little bit longer. And also the funding is a little bit different as well. We're looking for 5 solutions up to 200k each as well. So if I've missed anything out, Clara, just let me know. But otherwise, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Jonathan and Howard. Just one on slightly different change from the DFT and HS2 strand on the eligibility criteria is you are welcome to work with rail partners. So it's not a mass requirement, but you have to work with integration partner to be able to have the demonstration in the rail environment at the end. And you don't have to have a letter of support. So I will take you through the out of scope, all the eligibility criteria, which are, again, the same for DFT and HS2. So we are looking for something which will be really able to deliver at the railway. So you have to be able to successfully exploit by the rail industry. You have to be innovative. Your project needs to be innovation. So again, that is the main purpose we're looking for. You have to have technology at high a rail industrial readiness level, either level 5 or above. You have to have low technical risk, as I mentioned before. Make sure whatever you state in your application you are able to deliver, and you will not come to the end of the project and you find out you're not able to do demonstration, or you're missing a machine part which you can obtain in the given timeline. You have to meet the cost requirements, so you can't go above the maximum funding which is available. And one of the important bits is about the 50% funding split in the financial year, or for HS2 is 60 and 40%. You are not able to obtain any funding for something you already been funded before, either in the UK or European Union, and anything which you already have a commercial agreement with someone, you're not able to apply for the funding. This is just a repetition of what I said before. What we're looking for in the FT strand, you have to work with rail partners, owner of the railway asset, an organization which has the potential to be your customer, and you have to have the integration partner working with you, and a letter of support. For HS2, you are welcome to work with a rail organization, but you have to have an integration partner on board. And again, this is just a repetition for you to read in your own time, and I will skip the slide and hand over to my colleague Lydia, who will take you through the other application processes and similar.
I'm not quite as tall as everybody else. Right, so I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but these are the types of organisations we fund. As Rhiannon said, you don't have to be a small business for SBRI. So these are defined by the EU, and there's guidance as to what these are on our website. So these are the key dates. Competitions all opened today. Briefing is happening right now, as I'm sure you're all aware. So the submission deadlines are different. For DFT, it's the 26th, and for HS2, it's the 9th. They are both at 11 a.m. local UK time, not 11:01 anywhere, 11 a.m. Interviews happen for HS2. They are not happening for DFT, and those will be the week commencing the 23rd of October. And then you'll be informed at the end of August for DFT and the 3rd of November for HS2. So how do you actually apply for all of these competitions? So you do it on IFS, which is the Innovation Funding Service. So you can search for any of these competitions by name in Google or any other search engine you choose. Or if you go to the UKRI or Innovate website, you can click through to find current funding opportunities, or you can use the keyword search. There is a list of all current, open and upcoming competitions. If you scroll, you'll find them, but you can search SBRI Rail First of a Kind, and you will see this view. So there is a different competition for each one. If you click on the title, you will see this tabbed view that you can see here on the right, and it gives you a full breakdown of everything, the eligibility, the scope, and every question we will ask you. So before you even start your application, you will know what we are going to ask you and what we would like to see in your answers. So if you've applied to Innovate before for anything at all on IFS, you use that account. You don't need a new one for each one. If not, then you will need to set up an account. There is a company's house lookup option, so if you know your company's house number, you can plug that in and it will populate things for you. If you're not a business, don't use that. Put your information in manually, because otherwise it might count you as something else. If you have a quirk, your number doesn't work, you don't know what it is, that's not a problem. You can put the information in manually as well, and that will set you up your account. And that is an account for IFS, and then any competition you apply for uses that same account. If you've forgotten your password, click I've forgotten my password. So the first thing you're going to be asked is these questions, and they are unscored. This gives us background on you and your project. So I'm not going to go through them all in detail. This is all listed on the competition page under the How to Apply tab. But this is what we're going to ask you. We want to know who you are, who's on your team, where you are. There's an EDI question, a project summary and description. So we will publish your project description if you're successful. So please make sure you don't put anything sensitive or confidential in there, because it can't be edited. Then we will ask you different questions for DFT and HS2. So these are the DFT questions. There are 9. The first 2 are not scored. Some of them have got appendices. The guidance for all of this is visible before you start your application in the How to Apply tab. And there's guidance within the application as to what we're looking for. So for each question, there is a question, subtitle, guidance, what we'd like you to put in your answer to this question. Please note with this one that the costs question is marked out of 20, whereas everything else is marked out of 10. For HS2, there are 10 questions. The first 3 are unscored. You'll notice that a number of these are scored out of 20 versus scored out of 10. Again, this is all written, explained, and has guidance both before you get into your application and once you get into your application. So, the finances. So these are the cost categories of the finance. I'm not going to go through them in detail. We do have a YouTube playlist which breaks down each one of these cost categories, what is eligible, what isn't eligible, what we'd like you to put. But as you can see, it's split into labour, overheads, materials, equipment usage, subcontractors, travel and subsistence, and other. So the link to the YouTube site will be in the competition page. So again, on that tabbed view, you've got a brief eligibility, then in detail eligibility, scope, how to apply, and there's a whole supporting information tab, which gives you information on how to do your application, what is SBRI, all sorts of things like that. So what's really important for this, because it's SBRI, is VAT. So you can say whether you are VAT registered or not. If you say you are, IFS will automatically calculate that at 20%. If you say you are not, then you cannot add it later. So please pick the correct option here. So you'll be able to see a project cost summary. For the 2 strands, the totals are different. This is the cost of your project in total. For DFT, 5.2 million, HS2 is 1 million. So you will be able to see a breakdown of this. Please make sure you are within that total. If you are not, that will make you ineligible and your application will be kicked out and it will not be assessed. IFS will not validate that for you. So it will let you put in a project that is £100 million. It will not stop you. Please do not do that. Please make sure it fits the cost that we have stated here. You'll also have to complete a Your Organisation slide, which asks you information, as the name suggests, about your organisation. So it's really important. With this, you are paid according to your milestones, and you will have to dictate what those milestones are. So you will need to put them in, say what they are, when they're happening, and how much they are. They will be reviewed before awarding a contract to you. So here's some information as to what you should put in your milestones. The key thing is that they are clear and distinct. You state the cost for each one of them, and you don't cluster them together. Each milestone needs to be individual. So you will need to complete your terms and conditions. As Rian mentioned earlier, these are not editable or changeable. So these are draft when you actually put your application in. So please read them and check that you are happy, and essentially you are accepting to say you are happy with them. They might be different from any you've signed before, and this will be what you're signing up to if you are awarded a contract. So please make sure you have read them fully and that you are happy with them. So you've done all of that, and you're going to submit. We tell you to submit early. You don't have to submit early, but we suggest that you do. This is the submission data leading up to the deadline of basically every competition we run ever. If you don't submit early, that's absolutely up to you. If it's 2 minutes to 11 and your laptop battery dies and your Wi-Fi stops working and you can't remember your login, we will not let you submit. Even if you phone customer support and say, my laptop battery died, please make sure you submit before 11 a.m. As I mentioned, it's up to you if you choose to leave it, but we really suggest that you don't. If you truly have an issue and it seems to be at our end, please get hold of customer support. They will register that you had a problem. If it's a problem at our end, you would obviously not be penalised for that, but we really suggest you get your applications in before 11 o'clock on submission date. What you can do is you can edit. So you're very smug, you've got your submission in, you forgot something really important. You can reopen and edit. So you can do that at any point leading up to the submission. If you go in and you make an edit and you don't resubmit, that again, I'm afraid, is your fault, and we will not let you. Just because you've submitted once and reopened, the application has to be submitted before 11 a.m. That's really important. You can go in, there's a reopen button, change as much as you like, go back in, do that as many times as you like leading up to the deadline. So you've managed to submit on time. Wonderful. We're going to assess it. So our assessors are drawn from industry and academia, and each project is assessed by multiple assessors. They all assess completely individually and anonymously, and they cannot contact you. They are not allowed to do any Googling to find out anything about you or your project. They will only assess on what has been written down in your application. So put everything in there. It may seem obvious, it may seem matter of fact. Explain everything in your application. Your answers obviously have a word limit. You don't have pages and pages. So think about what you're being asked and what the assessors need to know. They've all got a slightly different background, although they're experts in the field. So please make it really clear what it is that you're going to do. So all 5 assessors will score and give feedback, and then there will be a total score for your application. We do check to make sure that all of the scores are fair and justified. If we feel an assessor has been unfairly negative or unfairly positive, we can remove them and adjust your score accordingly. You wouldn't see that because it's done outside of the system, so you will always get all of your feedback either way. Please remember that they all have a different background. They might disagree with each other, but we don't pick anyone over anyone else. This is why we use multiple assessors. So, as mentioned, they all have different backgrounds. You might see completely contradictory feedback when it comes to you, but rest assured we do pick our assessors because they know what they're talking about. They are experts in the field, and we do check that they are being fair with the scores that they're giving you, and each score that they give you should be backed up by the feedback that they have written, and we do check that regularly. So when you get your feedback released, it's visible, again, on IFS. So if you go in, you would see it looks like this. You'll get your average score for the question, and then you will see feedback from all of the assessors individually. We will not name them. We will never name them. They will only ever be assessor 1, 2, 3 to you, but this is what it will look like. So HS2, you may be invited to interview. So if so, you can bring 3 people from your team. You will have 10 minutes to present up to 10 slides, and then there'll be a 30-minute Q&A from a panel of experts. They will ask you all sorts of questions. You will be able to respond to that initial assessor feedback. So if you're invited to interview, that assessor feedback that has been written will be released to you. You can see what the opinions were, and we would like you to cover that in your response to feedback document and also in your slides that you bring to interview. You have to send us your slides and who's coming prior to interview. So you've got all the way through and you're successful. Congratulations. So if you're unsuccessful, you still get your full feedback from all of the assessors. If you're unsuccessful at interview, you would also get feedback from that. And we'd hope that that would help you out for next time round. If you are successful, then it all moves pretty quickly. So you'll be assigned a setup delivery executive who will get into contact with you. And then we need to know some details from you pretty quickly, sort of in the first week. And then we need you to sign your contract very, very quickly and return it to us. If there are delays, funding offer can be withdrawn. So please make sure that all the information you give us, all the contact details you give us at that stage, there is somebody checking that. So don't give us the email address of somebody who's going on holiday, maternity leave, leaving the company. It does happen. You will be contacted through IFS. So please make sure that everybody is available and waiting with the information if you're successful. So this is just some information on the sort of bank accounts we can and can't accept. Again, if you get to this point, you can have further conversation with the finance team, but this is just some information for you. And as I mentioned, all communication is through IFS. So make sure the person who has the IFS login is around and remembers it, because you will not be sent separate emails. It will all be done through IFS. That's where we will expect you to receive the emails, upload things, fill out forms. Projects are paid quarterly in arrears according to your milestones. So a monitoring officer will be assigned to you and will monitor you as you go through. So they will check that you are hitting your milestones. That has been proven. So each quarter you will be paid for the milestones that you have achieved in that quarter. So here are some dates for DFT. You can see when you'd be notified. Very quickly speak to someone from Project Setup, when you have to get everything by, and when you have to sign everything and return it to us. And here it is for HS2. Obviously, there's interviews in the middle of this, so it is a little bit later. So we are really focusing on EDI currently. We would like as many people from as many backgrounds as possible to apply to us. And with this, we have partnered to provide support for anyone who needs it. So if you feel you need any support in applying at all, please get in contact with customer support and they can put you into contact with D&A, who are Diversity and Ability. They're the partner who help us deliver this. So this is the path that you would see if you requested support from us. This is the route that you would take to provide you with the support that you need. So just finally, you can get hold of customer support 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You can call them and email them. If you have a technical issue, I imagine you will probably be doing both. You can look at websites for Innovate, Innovate UK KTN, and Innovate UK Edge. So that is it. Over to the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. That was really, really clear. I think the deadline's really clear, I think. Are we all clear on that? It's 11. We're actually really good for time at the moment, so we can have a good Q&A session. So I'm just going to get the microphone, actually. I forgot that. Just a second. I'll give you a microphone. Who would like to start the questions? Oh, don't tell. Oh, yes, got one. Thank you, Peter. Peter's got a microphone, so if you wouldn't mind waiting for that and just saying who you are and where you're from and your question, please.
Richard Shenton, RDS International. Just technical on the milestones of funding. You said a certain percentage has to be spent by the 31st of March. Can you spend more than that by the 31st of March? Or the other date for HS2?
So you're not, in principle, no. So you have to spend 50% in each financial year for the DFT strand. Slightly different for HS2, where it's 60 and 40%. And it's just because the overall budget we have tied is roughly split 50% in each of the financial year. So any slippage will be very difficult to do. So that's why it's 50% and 50%. So just make sure you plan it properly at the beginning of your project and when you're applying for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Milda from Railway Industry Association. I have a question about finding the partners and clients to work with you if you're a supplier. So there is a criteria that you have to find a partner, and I imagine this is quite a short time scale, and there will be a lot of suppliers scrambling to find rail partners and probably will be having calls with the same people. So do this sort of demonstration to the partners have to happen in individual basis, or could it be arranged some sort of Dragon's Den event where suppliers could come up and pitch to the partners their idea for this competition?
So one great opportunity is actually here today. We have a great number of rail stakeholders, and we will have a challenge owner speakers later as well after lunch. So this is a great opportunity where you can go and network and find your rail partners. We also have a LinkedIn page where for first of a kind, where you can go and request access. And there's lots of the previous work projects there, as well other industry rail stakeholders where you can go look for a partner. And of course KTN, which is the best, where you can go and approach and they can get you in touch with the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And just mindful, of course, we've got people joining us online. So please feel free to reach out to myself, and I can distribute amongst the team to get that support for you and find the right partners. And also, if you miss anybody today and you miss that conversation, please do reach out, and I can connect you with the right people if you think there's somebody useful for you to talk to and work with. Thank you. Okay, so we've got, beg your pardon.
Hello, Jonathan Raper, Transport API. Another question on that same theme of those categories of partners. Is there guidance and definitions on what you mean by integrators, that kind of thing? Because, I mean, we are an integrator, so can we integrate with ourselves? There's that, presumably you've issued some guidance, or you will issue some guidance on that.
So it's not black and white. So it is more or less up to you how you're going to interpret it. You can be your own integration partner, but you still need to have a letter of support from the potential rail organization who can be your customer. But it is, as I said, it's not a black and white, and it's up to you how you approach it and how you find the right people. So, but you can be your integration partner if you know how to integrate into railway. Well, I mean,
yeah, in our case, we already run a service that serves a quarter of the rail industry. So, but what about things like the private sector organisations that are running bits of the rail industry? Are they partners, or are you only talking about train operating companies and Network Rail? Could you just say more about who counts as those partners? Because today we've got to go around and have all these conversations. We need to know, who are we directing our attention at?
So, for example, Network Rail is organisation who will tick all the boxes. So they are experienced rail organisation, they are owner assets, they're integration partner. But there is lots of others. So it can be TOCs, it can be rolling stock owners and others as well. So it's not, we don't have a guidance on that. In principle, if they know how to integrate into railway because they've done it before, then yeah.
Right. Would you mind repeating the question whilst you've got the microphone, just for the benefit of everybody in the room? Or where's there he is. Let's. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind.
Apologies. I just asked whether someone who is a large existing customer to someone like Network Rail, could that be an integration partner, for example, a civil engineering consultancy? And the answer was yes.
Okay, we had two hands up. Let's go there, and then the gentleman in the blue shirt.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Liao from Ocal Software. I got one question and another one linking to the partner thing. One question is, can we apply for multiple strands or multiple competitions within this? The second one is indeed about the integration partner. My understanding is it would be a business already doing work in the network industry, as we haven't. Hope it can be clarified.
So you can apply for more strands and more projects. So that's fine. You have to make sure you are entering the right competition. So for example, if you have two different technologies you would like to enter, one is for the customer experience, one is for the, for example, train operation or HS2, make sure you're applying the right one into the right theme, because let's say you apply for you want to apply for HS2, but you submit your customer experience application in there, then you will be not eligible. So make sure you're applying to the correct strand. And what was the second question? Sorry.
About finding the integration partner, would it be some business or some existing railway organization who knows how to, for example, our, say, software solution, how would it be applied to railway?
Yes, so it can be, in principle, anyone who knows how challenging it is to overcome all the obstacles to bring something new to railway, and someone who knows how to help you to bring your innovation into railway. So it can be very wide range of organization, for example, like a civil engineering consultancy who knows how to integrate stuff into railway. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Ming from University London. So basically, we are developing some technologies right now. So in your one of the slides, I remember you said you want funding like the well-developed technology, which is TRL, real TRL more than 5, right? So how we evaluate this TRL by which authority? Because if our technology is kind of under development and we have like a demo in the partners, but who's going to evaluate that then?
So one of the questions in both DFT and HS2 strand is about what rail industry readiness level you are at to. So that is where you can state what level you are currently, but you have to be, by the end of the project, you have to be able to have the prototype. Oh yeah, and there's also a link to a document where they specify exactly what the what level 5 means. So you can, once you go into the links, you can go and click and read a bit more about the details.
So basically, it's kind of self-evaluate our current technology, right? By checking all of the criteria information, providing that link. Am I right? Okay.
Yes, and then it will be, once you submit the application, we will review it as well to see if you are at the correct level.
Okay,
because
so
it's one of the questions.
Sorry for that. In the application form, so what kind of information we should provide to prove our technology in that level? I mean, publication or video or what? It's very difficult. Sorry.
So you should have a look at the rail industry readiness levels guidance document, and there'll be key criteria in there that you're going to need to meet, and that's the evidence that you're going to need to provide as part of your application. So I'd refer back to that document and make sure you can tick off the criteria that will put you at 5 or above.
And the link is under whichever question it is. If you look in the how to apply section, so before you start your application, you should be able to click that link and check that you are actually eligible before you spend hours and hours on your application.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we've got a question over there. Thank you.
I'm Vikram Shah. It appears from these questions that this integration partner thing requires some more explanation. Is it possible that you can add a separate or expanded note to what you mean by integration partner and integrate that with your notes on the competition, please?
I think the best would be if you get in touch separately regarding your application with KTN and us, and we can help you directly with what would you need as an integration partner.
Hello, good morning. My name is Francesca and I'm KTM for Digital Transport. We have a very nice audience that is connected online from all latitudes, even Australia. So I just wanted to bring to your attention some of their questions. So we have Mike Edwards from Meter Power who's asking, does HS2 have any examples of the sort of tasks they need solutions for in their Theme 5?
Yeah, so I'd be concerned about getting into too many solutions in terms of what that would look like. I think anywhere where you've now got this new kind of scope in terms of high-speed rail and how we're going to be laying it, it's a very manual process at the moment, whether it be in the UK or in Europe or further abroad. So whatever falls into them categories where you can see cost efficiencies, areas to automate or to introduce robotics to reduce manual process is really key for us. I mentioned in terms of the slab track itself, that's a big change between ourselves and the conventional network. So it's quite a new area. It's still very manual. There's one, I can pick out a couple that are quite technical, but one is in terms of the grouting process where the slab track needs to bind or be joined to the base layer, We need to pour a lot of concrete into that in terms of grouting. The processes, if you look online now across Europe and the rest of the world, is significantly manual. You've got about 25 people doing one of those jobs in terms of using wooden shims, hammers to make sure the flow's right. We need to look at how we automate that solution, even to the point where we're using manual gantries to lay these slabs. Is there any way we can automate this process and take people out of the way? And the precision of how these slabs are being laid at the moment are nowhere near where they need to be, unless we have to do rework against it. So wherever you can clearly identify cost efficiencies through automation and other areas in there is key for us. Hope that clears it up.
Okay. Do you have time for another couple of questions? Okay, great. So we have another question quite interesting from Alex Kowalski from SkyPoint. How does the panel see drones as possible solutions to the challenges?
I can say a few words about HS2, and I think so. I would encourage people not to think about technology, but actually the use of the technology. So drones are a method of collecting information. What you do with that information in terms of safety, efficiency, and carbon reduction is what we are interested in. So I would encourage people to start to think really about project management and how you can use those types of technologies in terms of driving project management. Certainly in other existing structures where anybody is at harm's way, that's where drones come to the fore because it's a very good safety technology. But in all instances, think about what you're displacing and whether that's a safety or an efficiency that we will be interested in terms of the overall cost and efficiency of the program, much more than just going, I've got a drone, how am I going to use it on to put a submission forward? Does that make sense to you, John?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, great. So lovely. Now some more sort of specific questions. So Philip Webb from Forward is asking, it was mentioned that applicants must not have received funding before to be eligible. Is this all funding or just Innovate UK funding?
So this is actually on being funded to deliver the same outcome previously. If you've received funding for something completely different through Innovate UK or another EU mechanism, that's fine. We just don't want to be paying twice for the same thing.
Okay. And can a proposal cover a number of themes in an application?
If you can apply for more themes,
Yes.
yes, you can do. But again, just make sure you're applying in the correct theme with the correct technology.
Do we have time for one?
Multiple themes in one application, or does each application need to be a theme each?
So you can cover off more than one theme in your application, but you should select the theme when you're applying that your application predominantly covers.
Okay. And one last question regarding the themes. Theme 2, reliable and easy to maintain assets. Can you please give some more background on that, particularly future-proof design to achieve faster and lower cost maintenance element?
So again, we kind of giving the challenges, but very often we don't know what possible solution will come. So for example, by future-proof design is, for example, how we can make the seat less likely to get dirty. How, for example, that would be one example. But again, it's kind of up to the applicants what solution they have to offer to us. And the list of all these bullet points here in the presentation as well on the competition link itself is just examples. It's not limited to two, so you can have some other technology which will meet the overall themes.
I'd also add to that you may think you have a solution for a challenge, but make sure that challenge actually exists. Talk to the people in the room here today. Don't force your solution upon them for a challenge that might not actually be a problem. So talk to the people here to find out more about how they want to future-proof the railway.
Thank you.
Milda's got a question again. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to say again.
Thank you. I always got questions, so good to fill silences. Howard, you were talking about potentially HS2 looking at 3D printed elements to use for delivering the project. And it's interesting when we think about sort of product acceptance and product approval. So what kind of, have you considered how would that sort of fit into that integration phase? And there are no standards at the moment how we use, what kind of blueprints we use, what kind of materials we use in the 3D printed elements that should withstand the use of railway. So is there some sort of consideration around standards and approvals? Thank you.
Yeah. The sort of $1 million question to end us. Thanks, Milda. I think it's we in HS2 in the civils arena we are already using 3D printing, and the asset classes that you're using 3D printing for have a degree of confidence level from non-load bearing assets that we need. It could be a foundation for a pole or a sign. That adds value to us as a program because we are driving the technology forward, and we are also then understanding more about that technology. If it is for something that is load bearing, that is related to having a significant weight travelling at a very significant speed going over the top of it, obviously we then have to go through different code approvals for that. We're interested in understanding all of those, but we have to be realistic in the delivery of some of these things. So based on the TRL or the rail readiness conversation, we have to take that into consideration. So if you are going to propose an idea which has 6 to 7 years of code approval before it can be employed on the program, it's probably not going to be as attractive to us is if it's a staged approach on assets that we can do 3D printing with smaller incremental improvements. So the answer is really around pitch well in terms of what you're looking to do. But the use case or the asset that I've sort of described, if you take number of signs or posts over 140 miles of brand new railway, the business case is still pretty compelling. If you go big, we always like great ideas, but it has to be quite realistic because we are looking for things that are a bit closer to market.
Okay, thank you. And then Calvin's got a question.
Thanks. Also, Kelvin Davies from Innovate UK and GCRE these days. Clara, this is a really simple one. There was a bit of a mismatch on one of the slides that Lydia showed compared to what you showed. For the sake of clarity, can you just emphasise that the project budgets are what you said and not that fantastic competition that Lydia was launching with a £5.2 million project size?
So the overall funding altogether for the FT strand is 5.3 million, HS2 is 1 million, and the maximum project cost for the customer experience is 300,000, for the train operation and maintenance is 400,000, and for HS2 is 200,000. So apologies, unfortunately it's not 5 million per project, it's the overall one.
Okay, have we got any more questions? Oh yes, we do.
Hi, Shakil Ahmed Costain. Just a quick question with regards to the demonstration. Do they have to be full-scaled, size demonstration, or can they be scaled down demonstration?
So it can be scaled up, but it needs to showcase the prototype, and you have to make sure you deliver what you state in your application, and it needs to be even where you're able to attract your potential customers, and that is. Basically, you can treat it as a commercial showcase where you show, oh, we have this great technology. Are you interested in buying it? Are you able to take it further? So, yeah, it can be scaled up.
Another question from our community. Is there any scope for larger scale safety project, let's say 5-12 million or other contact sources outside of this competition in the UK to review them?
So the funding, unfortunately, that's given the project cost is what we said before, and that is where we actually, that's the eligibility criteria, so we can't go over the project cost on that.
Thank you.
We okay online for the moment? Okay, Peter, there's just a question down here, the gentleman in the green checked shirt, please. Apologies, I don't know your name. No.
Hi, Kailash from Spatial Cortex Technology. Can you expand a little bit more about the DNA support and who qualifies for it, please?
So that would be decided on your application, essentially. If you feel you need any support at all, you would contact our Innovate support service, and they will put you into contact with DNA, and then they will speak to you about what support you require. I'm not sure how judgmental they are as to whether you need the support, but that's the process. So you contact us, and we would then put you in contact with them, and you would explain what you needed and why, and they would be able to look at what they could offer you.
Thanks. More in the vein of standards and compliance, if we are proposing an innovation which is targeted at transforming an existing process, how, in order to demonstrate the potential savings, what would be the process to demonstrate equivalence? Would you have strict requirements around going out in the field with an asset owner, potentially with their normal operations taking place at the same time as the innovative approach, and then going back to your desktop and understanding that the outcomes are the same? Is there any formality around that?
So the evaluation is not strict. Again, it's not black and white. It depends what you state in your application. And so I would recommend be careful with numbers you're saying. If you say, I'm going to save 50%, make sure you actually are able to support it. So, and or if you're going to state, I'm going to make the customers happier, make sure you're thinking about how you're actually going to prove it at the end of your project. And in the evaluation, there's going to be an project report where you have to fill this question out and actually prove that you were able to deliver.
Don't forget as well, the demonstrator event, that's also a really good time for you to showcase or demonstrate any potential improvements in process, and that's going to help build your commercial plan and your business case then for customers going forward.
Yeah, for example, if you would have anyone who would be using your prototype, any feedback from them could be part of the evaluation as well.
And we have another question just there.
Wendy Wang from University of East Anglia. Can you just clarify whether a university can take a lead for this competition?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you can, but bear in mind that you need to be able to demonstrate a route to market as well as part of your application. You will be assessed on that.
We must have a partner, right?
Yes, you must. So you must meet all the eligibility criteria and demonstrate a clear commercial plan.
Okay, thank you.
Just over there.
Afternoon, Zach from Travel AI. On the integration side, or using an integrator, if a TOC has the capacity internally and is already integrating software, as in they have in-house developers, how do you then deal with that from the application perspective?
You can use TOCs as their integration partner.
Okay.
So yeah, you can work with them.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, well, we do have just less than 10 minutes to lunch. If anybody does have any burning questions, we don't have to sit here for 10 minutes, but I just want to make sure that you've got your questions out. Oh, is that a hand? No? No, right. Just stretching. Okay, I get the hint. Oh, no, we do. One more. Where is? I think Peter's going to get his steps in today.
Apologies for delaying the lunch by a couple of minutes. Suchit from Cosworth, or to be more specific, the electrification division of Cosworth. Just have a question on HS2 theme 5, electric multi-purpose vehicles. Just want to understand if those are on-track multi-purpose vehicles or on-highway commercial vehicles or electrified construction equipment, or
more construction, not necessarily on track. No.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a follow-on question to that? What can applicants come to you to get a sense of the sorts of payload?
I don't think it's a question for me. We'd be open to that, but I don't know if it's Clara, from your point of view.
So you can come to us with questions.
Yeah.
And we will direct them to the right people.
Yeah, I think that might help inform people's decision making and application process. Thank you. Any more for any more? Oh, we have another hand over there, Peter. I think people are playing with me now. It's fine.
Larry Fortner, Kotatare. It was just a question I'm interested in, but we've talked quite a bit about innovation this morning, and I was wondering if there's anyone in the room who might be a buyer for any of the products that this competition may generate. And if yes, could we have a show of hands? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, right. Well, last chance, and we can let you go. I'll just give it a... behind you, Peter. Yeah.
It's a quickie for HS2. You're probably about a decade away from actually having customers. So to what extent is HS2 today interested in how the railways are used? So understanding commuters, passengers, end-to-end journeys. How is that of interest today, or how might that be used?
For the purposes of this competition, we are focusing on rail systems because that's the most significant piece of work that we're undertaking at the moment. In the broader innovation program which we run, we are undertaking studies with a number of companies, understanding not only sort of the door-to-door journey, understanding how people are traversing across our stations, things like dwell time, retail experience. I'm more than happy to have a discussion outside the context of this competition, which we are focusing very much on the automation of rail systems. But with my HS2 innovation hat on, let's have a chat afterwards.
Just a quick one on that as well. I've got Nana, my colleague, who's going to speak after lunch in terms of the DFT themes, and if some of them are relevant to HS2 in there, so there's some applicability there. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to leave it there, and we'll let you go and have some lunch, and that's the opportunity to go and network and ask any burning questions that you might have and get more detail. So we are... that's the slide I want. We are back in at 1:40, so you've got a good hour to go and have a bit of a chat. So we'll call you back then. If you could join me in thanking our speakers. Thank you. Okay, thank you for coming back. We'll make a start. So what we're going to do for the rest of afternoon, we've got a series of presentations from the challenge owners, and that will be immediately followed by the 2-minute elevator pitches, and then we can just let you go and have a bit of a networking break after that, and there'll be more cake, which is definitely worth staying for. So without further ado, let's get into the challenge owner presentations. And first up is James Heslop from Network Rail, please. And that's your next button, all right.
Oh, we've got a few stragglers coming in. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. It's great to see so many people here today. And thanks to Innovate UK KTN for moving this forward. I'm James, I'm Network Rail's Head of Strategy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our challenge statements today. And also there were some questions before about how to approach us for letters of support. We've got that covered as well. So I'm happy to talk through that. And then should we have time, because I've only got 10 minutes, I can take some questions. If not, we can kind of build it in towards the end. I'm here all day. You can catch me outside. It's been great to talk to a lot of you already. So anyway, without further ado, there we go. So we've got all 3 theme areas. Obviously, we don't cover the HS2 stuff. That's already in there. And I'm not going to run through in detail each theme. I think, importantly, the challenges we've got are really in the areas of data, automation, passengers, and putting the passengers at the front of our recovery from COVID. So, on the customer experience theme, we want to look at intelligent insight for passenger data, appealing and accessible travel experience and environment, network user surveillance, so that moves away from the experience of the passenger on the train and more towards the surveillance of people in the station, and the challenge around trespass and vandalism, which is a real issue we have today. I should say I'm not going to talk about any of the experiences Network Rail have had, the successful experiences. John is following on from me, and he's going to cover that. He's got that opportunity. I'm just looking forward. I forgot to say that at the beginning. So that's the customer experience theme. There is a lot more detail in here, and these slides have been shared, so feel free to dig into it. My email's in the front, and Gareth as well, who's one of the contacts at the end. So for theme 2, again, it's looking at that data and automation piece. As we look at our easy and reliable assets, we've done activity to change the asset types and try to improve them now. It's looking at the data that's coming out of that and starting to automate it and remove people from dangerous positions. So remote inspection of assets and the local environment, automation of design, which is key to us, automation and standardization of design, compliance and approval, effective continuous remote condition monitoring, and then predictive and preventative maintenance for us. So it's providing solutions to automate and analyze the existing remote condition monitoring output. These are key areas for us, and they're key themes for us in our CP7 research, development, innovation journey, which this crosses over from one control period into another. We've touched on finance. I'm not going to get into that. But these are certainly key themes for us, or key challenges for us, sorry. Theme number 3, which is optimized train operations. Now, this starts to move away. As Network Rail, most of you I'm sure know we don't own and operate trains ourselves. We have that delivered through third parties, but we do have the legal responsibility for delivering train planning and elements like that. So this area focuses on that activity. So flexible and reliable train planning, which today is a manual process. How can we look at innovating in that space? More consistent operations and our operational staff development and competency. So there are 3 new areas for us to explore that go beyond traditional train operations. How do we look at our train planning? How do we look at our consistent operations while trains are in service? And then how do we look at that operational staff development to make sure our people aren't the cause of the delay as well? So I think as we talked about before lunch, we aren't looking for, I'm not talking about technical solutions. I'm merely placing the challenges on you and all of your amazing organisations and helping us find those technical solutions to our challenges. Okay, so they're the key challenges. I'm sure for some of you they've piqued your interest and you'd like to know how best to engage with us and how best to get a letter of support from us so that you can go forward and successfully bid for funding. So shall I cover that? So we've got a request for support form, which is a form we've used before. Some of you are probably familiar with my colleague Mark Gaddis, who's retiring on Friday. So I've been asked to cover some of his work. So those of you who've engaged with Mark, I'm the new Mark. But we have a request for support form that you can get from the email address there from Gareth Evans, who's the head of Rail Technology. It's a one-page document that we want in by the 7th of July, by 23:59, so by the end of the day. We didn't pick 11 o'clock, we picked the end of the day. But again, if for whatever reason your network fails and it comes to me on the 8th of July, we won't consider it. We're as firm as the team earlier on the dates and the deadlines. All of ours are the end of the day. So for us, that information really needs to include what is the idea. So a clear breakdown of what that idea is. What are the clear benefits for Network Rail? What are the objectives we're trying to address? What's the problem that we're trying to address? And then importantly, this is something we often visit with people as they come to us, the dependencies you need. We talked about product acceptance earlier. I think there was a question for HS2 on product acceptance. Product acceptance for Network Rail sits within Gareth and my team. So we can facilitate that relationship and we can facilitate that conversation. But it's about, for us, proving it's safe and maintains the operation of the rail infrastructure. Do you need access to the infrastructure? Do you need data? Whatever it might be, put those dependencies in, but it can only be one page. So do think about the information you're providing us, because the sizes are locked and we want to make sure we can give you as fair support as possible. We'll then look through that and we'll do some assessment. I've got a brief timeline. So the competition opens today. You can submit requests for support from Gareth over the next couple of weeks as we move towards the 7th. Over the week from the 7th to the 14th, we will review those submissions, and then beyond there, we will issue letters of support, which then allow you time to bid into the process as well. So it's a pretty light presentation from me because I didn't want to run through each challenge in detail, but they are available for you. Do have a look at them. You can contact me. My details are on there as well. But if you want that request support form, do go to Gareth, do ask for it, but be conscious it is one page. That's it really for me. I've tried to be very brief and stay within my timeline.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Still here?
So we might have time for one or two questions if anybody's got any burning questions. Okay, where's the microphone? I've lost Peter. Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you, Ash. Ash, multitasking. Thank you.
Thank you. We've mentioned that a letter of support should come from somebody in a senior role, presumably a technical role also. Would you be able to give us an indication of what that means for you, if you already have a dialogue with Network Rail in other areas?
Is that for me? Or is it for... So that provision of the letter of support, we will support you in getting access to the right people in the organisation. I understand that we're an organisation of 42,000 people. It can be difficult to identify the right technical head, the right engineering head, the right head of capital delivery, but we can help facilitate that conversation for you. Does that help?
Okay, thank you. I think there was one more, Peter, just over here. Thank you. And then we'll move on to the next speaker.
Oh, hi. It's Evan here from Complete Cyber, just at the back here. Stupid question, probably a bit of a personal one. Do all Network Rail letters of support have to go through this process? The reason I ask that question is we have a senior individual in NR that wants to support our application for folk. but it's probably got no recollection or no information with regards to yourselves and how to go through the proper procedures. So just want to know, does it have to go through this route, or can we go slightly outside of it?
So it's a fairly common process for us, but I'm happy to work with that individual. It does have to go through our team so that we've got awareness of everything that's happening in the organisation, and we can make sure we are maximising that public spend into the industry. But it doesn't preclude that from happening.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
As long as we're aware of it, basically. That's the short answer.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, James. Thanks. And can we... Okay, so next up, Network Rail again, and we're moving on to John Ashley. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So, as the logo indicates, yes, I am Network Rail. I'm the Chief Track and Switches and Crossings Engineer for Network Rail. It's a great title. I haven't worked out how to shorten it yet, so if anybody gets a great idea, please get in contact. I'd be all ears, frankly. I'm not actually here today in my Network Rail or role capacity. I'm actually, I'm the chair of something called the Executive Technical Leadership Group for the industry. We are effectively, I've seen some friendly faces, we are effectively a group of senior individuals across the industry, and we lobby and support for innovation, technical excellence, and actually moving the dial forward. So you will all have heard, no doubt, of the Railway Technical Strategy. That is curated by the RSSB, but in terms of the sponsorship and the ownership of that sits within the Executive TLG. Hopefully that will make sense to you. So what I thought I'd do in that capacity is just share a couple of thoughts. Mostly, in fact, all of it has already been covered this morning, so I'm not going to try to bore anybody, but I'd like to try to bring some flavours to life for you. Would that be all right? Yes, John. All right. Okay. Next button. So, for anybody who cares to Google, you will be able to find the government's strategic objectives for rail out there. I thought I'd just share that with you. This are already baked into all the conversations you've had this morning. The first of a kind competition this year, it's all about cost efficiency, increasing value for money. It's already been stated to you. But if you track backwards to, shall we say, government intent, there's conversations about how do we better meet customer needs, deliver financial sustainability, how do we contribute, how does the government contribute to the long-term economic growth of UK PLC, levelling up, connectivity, and delivering environmental sustainability. So there's a load of bullet points in there. By all means, Google it, whatever, look it up, and actually get your head around it. This is rich material for you to think about. What is it you're trying to fix and solve? And the descriptions through Innovate UK and indeed through my colleagues here today will hopefully bring that out to life. Now, what I thought I'd do, given that I am a track engineer and I like engineering, I'll just share some nice pictures with you and I'll just articulate what excellence may look like. Now, my HS2 colleagues have talked about process, construction process and so on. I think that's absolutely right. Some of the things that, whether it's my classic team in Network Rail or other colleagues who've developed over the last few years with and in partnership with the industry, are things like this creature here on the left-hand side. That's something called NR60 Mark II. It's 60 kilogram rail per metre, heavier, chunkier rail. Effectively, it's a turnout, isn't it? With concrete sleepers, clever points operating equipment. There's a lot of innovation that goes into creating big, chunky, new systems. Completely, I think, outside the immediate first-of-a-kind challenge. So I'm not counselling you to go and build new S&C. No. This is an idea for you. What is the problem? The reason this was developed was because the existing stock and current design, or previous designs, of S&C layouts had performance challenges. A train does not care What stops it running? The passengers don't really care. But what we have to do, most of the problems, performance-related problems, tend to be in the S&C. Not all, but most. There's a thought for you. So the whole point of that was to actually develop new technology, be highly performance, excellent performance, more resilient to things like weather challenges and so on. There's also different materials and products in the top of that particular picture. There's composite sleepers. There's also composite bearers and so on. So there's opportunities looking at new materials, new ways of thinking. On the top right, it's more of just a bit of a graphic. Yes, that is a freight train with a pantograph, which can actually draw electricity from the wires. So Hugh Merriman talked earlier about, wouldn't it be ideal to actually have different modes of transport, battery, electricity driven, ideally without wires? Maybe a step too far in the immediate term, but it's definitely the right way of going. But there's opportunities for low-cost electrification. How do we actually do what we do now better? That is the challenge for you. And then the bottom right, that's something called the flow bridge, composite material bridges, an excellent piece of engineering that Network Rail have delivered with partners out in the industry. Probably more of interest to you, though, in terms of this particular competition, tools, analytical decision support tools. James mentioned it earlier. I've lost track of James. Where are you, James? There you are. Thank you. Partly I wanted just to share these things with you is because there's no point in coming through a competition with an excellent first-of-a-kind idea to find out somebody else has already done it. Yeah? It's the application. Have a really, really good think about what it is you're trying to achieve. What is that specific problem that your great solution will solve? And I promised myself I won't mention it now, but if anybody wants to grab me separately, there's one innovation that keeps coming back to me, it haunts me, and it's on the face value, it's an excellent solution which doesn't solve a problem. It's like a zombie idea, it keeps coming back to me, I hate it. I really hate it. But this particular one on the top left, instrumentation to monitor the overhead wires, bolted onto the top of passenger trains. Helps diagnose where a problem is before it becomes a problem. So while the wires can be fixed. Top right, it's an inspection robot for switches and crossings. Measures all sorts of things that you need, or we need, as rail engineers. And that helps us diagnose problems before they become problems. It's repeatable, it's efficient, it's a great idea. Bottom right, there was a conversation earlier about drones. This is a particularly nice drone. It's been labelled as Prometheus, if anybody ever watched the movie. Send it down a mine, and it can buzz round and inspect a mine shaft. Often mines that we can't get in ourselves, that run underneath the railway. Great ideas. Okay? So it's not, please don't come along with, I've got a brilliant drone. What can I use it for? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And then the bottom left, which is completely unintelligible, I realise, to anybody looking at it here and now, it's a whole presentation in itself, but it's about analytical decision making, pulling in vast amounts of data into a tool which can help to solve decisions. And the clue really is in the top left of this bottom left quadrant, which is the P2F curve. How do we actually shift the dial before failure up so we can intervene earlier? Planned preventative maintenance, what tools can actually help us with that? And I've talked to colleagues in the crowd earlier about how we can actually do that. That is a rich opportunity. But again, what is the problem specifically you're trying to solve? So finally, my plea to you is through my colleague James, because I did actually say I'm not here for Network Rail today. That's a nice way of saying talk to him. Link up with your end users. Understand the problem. Get them to help you sponsor through the difficult challenge that can be product approval at times. Get your head around that. James will advise. Well done, James. Keep in mind what the strategic goals. What is it you're trying to solve? And there's also a portal for the Network Rail challenge statements, but James has covered those off quite admirably today. So that is me. I'm finished. Probably burst my time. My apologies.
Okay, shall we leave the questions to the end? Just in interest of keeping time, and people can catch up with yourself and James afterwards. That'd be great. So next up is Rufus Impey, and he's from Great British Rail Transition Team. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you all today. So, firstly, what is Great British Railways Transition Team? And it will be the guiding mind for Britain's railways as per the Plan for Rail. And I guess we're about designing that future for GBR and bringing the industry together for that meaningful change now. So focusing on the guiding mind bit of it, what does that actually mean? It's like today, clearly the structure is very fragmented. It's very challenging for people to navigate. And I guess there's a number of different things within that. And the thing I'm going to talk to you about today is really about the strategic direction and long-term thinking, which has some very big crossovers, which John has just mentioned. So it's almost like we'd, yeah. So I guess as John was saying, like we've got a set of objectives from the government. There's a massive crossover with those with the challenge statements for the competition around value for money fundamentally, and then delivering for passengers and the economy. And I guess what we want to focus on, particularly for the Great British Railways Transition Team, we are tasked with delivering a long-term strategy off this, and we'd like to see benefits now from that, rather than that just being a thing for the future. So I guess we're particularly interested around the customer experience challenge and how we can be innovative in attracting revenue growth and customer satisfaction around the industry and those kinds of ideas. But clearly, we're far from uninterested in the other challenges, particularly as a number of them support that objective. So that's a specific thing that we're delivering. There's also a linkage to our fares, ticketing and retail program, which is a specific program of work we're delivering over and above the design for the organisation. But there is a but. Clearly, we are not an asset owner. We do not own these things. We do not control these trains yet. But we're working with other parties, and I guess from the point of view of this competition, it's really clear. It might be a slightly odd moment to end the presentation on, but being really clear that you need to work with those end users. So work with the train companies, with Network Rail, with the major suppliers, and so forth. But we're extremely interested in being able to harness your efforts, energy, enthusiasm around those innovative challenges to deliver against the long-term strategic goals for the industry. So that's a brief canter through from me, and thank you very much. Thank you.
That was really, really quick. I don't suppose we've got any questions for anybody. Got any questions? No, they probably covered. Oh no, we do. We do have one question.
Thank you, Mike Lloyd from Junction. So, could you just clarify, Rufus? Obviously, the long-term direction of GBR. Let's say we have a fantastic idea to improve revenues. We couldn't present it to this particular program with yourselves, so we'd need to go with Network Rail or one of the TOCs or someone like that. That's what you're saying, is it, just to clarify?
Exactly. So we've been working very closely with the Train Operator Innovation Group, and working through those existing industry parties would probably be the primary means to take these ideas forwards. But we're really keen to see that happen. Do you want to be consulted on any of these, or how do you want to be kept in the loop, or do you want to be kept in the loop? Certainly, if there's areas where you feel there's direct impact for us for that long-term thinking, we'd be interested to hear from you as part of that. But we don't want to sit as a barrier in that either.
I guess actually just following on from that question, does that mean we can kind of elicit a letter of support from you? You know, in the sense that it doesn't, you know, remove needing to get the other letters of support, but that we're on the same page in terms of what your MO is.
Certainly, where you feel that's relevant to the ideas that you're putting forward, we're available.
Okay, well, thank you, Rufus. That was helpful, just to cover those points. So next up, we've got Will Redaway from East West Rail. And it's just that one there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Will Redaway. I'm the Head of Innovation at East West Rail. Just to give you a little bit of an insight of what East West Rail is, our purpose is to increase prosperity between Oxford and Cambridge by transforming everyday journeys. I've been told I had to talk about that because that's our mission. These shouldn't be too much of a shock from a rail company in terms of what our outcomes are. We have to be better for customers, and Rufus and others have talked about customer experience. That's a core importance for us. Although we're not a live railway, we're still a project, we already have a customer experience team. So we are thinking about how do we influence and implement customer experience now before we even operate our train. We want to be cheaper for the taxpayer, which is hopefully all of us in the room. I certainly want to be cheaper for us. Greener for the environment, of course, that's important to us. We want to deliver quicker than we have before, and we want to be safe and secure. Just in case you don't know what East West Rail is, we're connecting Oxford to Cambridge, creating a handful of new stations. The new bit will be between Bedford and Cambridge. We, a couple of weeks ago, had our route update announcement, so those multiple forks in the road on the track aren't actually there anymore. We've now got the routes. You can look it up online. But that's the scope of our project. Fairly isolated, fairly private in terms of what we can do. So we have a lot of opportunity to innovate. We will be interfacing with Rufus and Network Rail, because there's going to be some interfaces there, and obviously GBR strategy for future rail is obviously important to us as well. So on to our challenges. We've kept it quite specific, not because we're not interested in other things. We are interested in customer service. We are interested in data, technology, track monitoring, asset maintenance, all that sort of stuff. But we just don't have the bandwidth. There's less than 200 of us in the company at the moment, and our bandwidth is limited. That said, I know a lot of you have been in touch with some of our teams, and please do get in touch with us if you want to discuss and explore things beyond this safety-focused innovation first-of-a-kind competition. But just to manage expectations, we may not have the bandwidth to reply quickly or straight away, but we are interested in the technologies that you can provide us, and at least plant the seed that we can start thinking about it, that whilst we might not be able to do it directly through FOAC, we might do it independently in due course or build up a business case with you guys to make things come to life. So as we start construction, which we are going to be starting and we are currently doing, things that are important to us are things like wearable technology for geofencing, protecting our people. How do we monitor, report incidents in a way, create heat maps, create data, which is useful, not just data for the sake of data, but data that we can make decisions on. How do we create an easy way of reporting? As I'm sure many of you have been on sites where a near miss has happened, you've got to find a form, you've got to fill it in by paper, then somebody else has to fill it in, and then you go through RIDDOR, and the process is awful. How do we improve that? How do we improve the capability for reporting, but also be able to create those actions to improve the safety on site? We're a public sector company. We have to be transparent with this. We want to make sure that people know that we're doing things the right way. And another really important thing, and I think hopefully we'll touch on the technology point for some of you, is those digital rehearsals. How do we create a digital rehearsal? How do we bring on board people in a way that we can test our delivery capability and strategy? And also that digital twin space. We have an aspiration to operate and run our railway and our project directly from the digital twin and as a digital twin. Big words, and it's really, really complicated. It's an aspiration. Maybe FOAC won't be able to give us that straight away, but it'll hopefully lead us to get to to a point where we can do that. And we're really interested in anything that could help enable that. We've put a note on the bottom, we're not currently looking for partners outside of the scope, but as I mentioned, if you've got something that you think is interesting to us, which is outside of this scope, please do get in touch. Again, with a caveat, we're a limited team, and we might not be able to give you as much bandwidth as you want. However, we are partnering with the likes of Network Rail and others, so there might be an indirect route into us through our partners. Lastly, this is my last slide, we are happy to provide letters of support. Daisy, who was here this morning, she has to go and drink champagne with ministers at Westminster, so I'm afraid you're stuck with me. Daisy and I are both happy to support, a little bit like James mentioned. If we're not necessarily the right people, we can put you in touch with the right people to make these opportunities come to life. And we do have a deadline, 19th of July. I haven't specified the time scale, but let's just say by anything beyond the 19th of July will not be considered. So fairly short time window, but again, as I said, we are a very small company and limited bandwidth, so we do need to be quite ruthless with our timings. So yes, get in touch if you're interested, and I don't know if we've got time for any questions or not. Thank you very much.
We're well within time, so we can take some questions if anybody has any.
If there are none, please come and see me, and I'll happily talk to you.
Doesn't look like it. You must have.
No,
there's always Mildar.
So I'm not answering questions from Mildar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You didn't tell me that. So, yeah, we could have saved us some embarrassment.
Thank you. Just a quick question around the safety sort of innovation, and there were some examples mentioned. Are you prepared to look something outside that example scope?
Yes, there was just
anything that's to do with safety.
Yeah, it was just 3 examples just to give an idea. But safety related, anything safety related that could enhance safety, whether it could be data, it could be a technology, it could be a process, behavioural training. As long as it's safety related, absolutely. Thank you. It was. Thank you.
Oh, we do have another question over there. Thank you.
Larry Faulkner, Cogitare. It's just a question on the letters of support. And this is actually not just for yourself, but for Network Rail as well. There was a comment earlier on this morning that letters of support had to be from someone senior in the organisation. So the big exam question is can that letter of support come from the sort of innovation team, or does it have to come from the area of the business that the product would finally be, aimed for?
From my perspective, we need to know from the subject matter expert within your company, so that we can be very, very clear. As long as you have that endorsement, and if you can countersign it with a senior, with a senior exec, it would reduce the amount of toing and froing, just because it means that we know that we're engaging at the senior part of your business. But we're a very small company compared to Network Rail, so Network Rail will probably have a slightly different process. But from my perspective, from East West Rail, we're a bit more flexible with that. But I think Network Rail will probably have a slightly different view on it.
We're a very big company. For me, it's all about the route to market. So within our organisation, we need a agreement from a senior member of the part of the business that will take that product forward, so that we are maximising the investment we get through this opportunity as the public sector, but also we ensure that there is a way for that to get to the part of the business that needs it. If it impacts my team, absolutely, we'll sign off on it, but I think that's highly unlikely in reality. But we can facilitate that conversation. That's the key bit we can do through that review period and that gathering the letters of support. We can go to the likes of John or his equivalents in the regions and make sure that we've got that engagement for you, if you haven't already got it, as I think there was an example before. Yeah, but we will facilitate that conversation for you. So it can still come through us, and we can just make sure that you've got access to the right people in that 40,000.
And just to clarify, from our perspective, it would be the same. You know, we would make sure that the right person gets visibility of that letter of support, and there will be, you know, full business support across East West Rail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have another? Well, we do have one more. Yeah, we can't go just yet.
How big is your team? So safety for how many people
So-
working on the tracks or wherever?
So the core East West Rail team, we're less than 200, but we've got an alliance with Network Rail, looking after sort of configuration stage 1. So we've got, you know, partnerships. We've got technical partners on board as well, project partners, and then we've got the subcontractors in due course. So the core team at East West Rail is small, but then it does grow when we bring in all the relevant parties. So you're not going to be dealing with just, you know, one health and safety director at East West Rail. It'll cascade down across the entire project. But that person at East West Rail will be that point of contact from the safety perspective, who will then obviously channel it across the relevant places. But that's just the nature of our. We may grow. We're never going to be as big as HS2 or 42,000 at Network Rail, but we have the bandwidth where we need it. But it's not just, we haven't got the bandwidth for everything that we're doing on this FOAC. That's why we've been quite specific around health and safety, just because we know we've got some bandwidth there. Does that answer your question? Perfect. But come and see me afterwards and we'll have a chat. Yeah.
Great. Okay, we'll let you go now, Will. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so now we've got a double act. So can I ask Dan Piner and Ross Wellham to come to the stage, please? There we go. Who's going first?
That's a good question.
Dan, is it? There you go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dan Piner, South Western Railway.
Ross Wellham, London North Eastern Railway. I lead the research and innovation team there, and Dan is the senior innovation manager at SWR.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Go on, I'll let you
press the button. So, thanks, Ross. So you'll see we're doing a bit of a double act today, which I think in itself hopefully says a lot about what we're trying to achieve in the industry. So previously, you would have had separate presentations from myself at Southwestern, Ross at LNER, and numerous other talks. Today, we're trying to bring that into one place a bit and represent a one-shop window for a number of talks together. So comes back a bit to Milda's question earlier today as well about how those suppliers might pitch to us. Well, this is your answer. So the TOC innovation community, firstly, just to introduce you to that before Ross tells you a bit more about who's involved, and then we'll go into some of the specific challenges that we're trying to address through the first-of-a-kind competition. So the TOC innovation community, as it says on the slide here, bringing together innovation champions and leads from across the industry. Ross, myself, and probably about 12, 13 other TOCs are represented in this group. I'm trying to force the acronym of TOCITch, but Ross doesn't like it because it sounds like a medical condition. So we've got 4 key objectives as part of this community. We've been meeting for about the last 12 months or so on a sort of 4-week, 6-week basis is the aim. We've got 4 main objectives shown on the slide here. So firstly, create a space to share innovation learnings, different projects that each of us are doing across the business in our own worlds, so that I know what Ross is doing, Ross knows what I'm doing, same with Ariva London, and all of the other TOCs are involved as well, Southeastern, Northern, etc. Build a network of contacts which can come together, speak together across the industry and help to ensure this cross-industry collaboration, which is part of the reason we're here today. Encourage collaborative culture and reduce unknown duplication within the industry, resulting in cost efficiencies. This is really important, and it might be okay that we're both duplicating similar projects. We might be working with the similar suppliers or doing the same kind of thing, but there might be good reason for that. The really important key thing is that we each know what each other are doing, so that if there is crossover, we can be aware of it, and it increases that transparency. But also it means that suppliers can have one place to come to, so hopefully it makes your lives easier by, rather than having that same conversation 15 times, 20 times, you can come to one single place and have that conversation with us. And finally, here, showcase rail as an innovative industry. I think there's a bit of perception from outside of rail that we're not an innovative industry. It's really good to try and prove those people wrong, I think. And actually, we know there's loads of great stuff going on. We saw John's presentation earlier of all the things that have happened at Network Rail. And also amongst the talks, there's lots happening which are more customer facing as well. So we know we're innovative, and it's time for us to demonstrate that to others.
Thank you. So, moving on a little bit to the first of kind competition. So, as part of this first of kind competition, these are the sort of the operator partners that we are sort of collaborating with. I think there are a number of benefits for this. Not only for us, it provides that sort of single pipeline of applications, but actually for yourselves as suppliers, you know, it means that you only have to make that one inquiry and you get to reach these and more. You can have multiple letters of support, or even one letter of support from multiple operators. And also there's a much greater opportunity for commercialization off the back of this, because you're already speaking with the relevant people within those organisations. And just to build on what Will, James all said about, you know, getting the right people into this process, absolutely we want to validate the opportunity, the problem that you're looking to solve before we provide those letters of support. So you've got that end user stakeholder buy-in as well as the sort of, you know, the innovation side of stuff. So so there is loads of opportunity through this. I think similarly, you know, whilst HS2 and East West Rail don't yet have customers, you know, and they've already said that they're very keen to learn from this. Equally, you know, we want to provide them the learnings as well. So that it just goes to show, and I think is a real, I would say it's a kind of a bit of a step change in how we're thinking about things as an industry in that collaboration mindset. We're not, you know, we're not really too bothered about the competition between ourselves anymore. It's especially in the innovation space. We're very open, we're very transparent, and we do talk. So it's definitely moving in a very positive direction. And now we're going to talk about some of the challenges. These are quite specific. They're not exhaustive, by the way, and you know, it's not saying that if you don't have a solution to solve these challenges, we're not interested. That's not the case at all. But these are some of the things that we've pulled together as a group. So I think you're going to take the first one, or we're going to take the first one together, aren't we, on the customer experience, because it is by far the sort of largest set of challenges that we have. So I was going to take the first one, actually, wasn't I? So how might we manage disruption better? Hopefully you can all see these, and please do take pictures, but obviously they'll all be available afterwards as well. So just sort of cantering through a few of these, because very conscious of time. You know, providing reassurance to customers that their ticket is valid for their journey, you know, for the journey that they want to take. We have, for instance, this problem is very prevalent with LNER. You know, the various ticket types you can have, customers will often be unaware that they are travelling on a train that their ticket is not valid for, and they can be heavily penalised as a result. And it causes a lot of anxiety. So how can we overcome that problem and provide them with the next best or next available best action? And I think, I'm happy to take any questions on any of these, but I just want to sort of canter through, and hopefully you can read them in your own time as well. But Dan, do you want to take a few as well?
Yeah. Thank you. So we're kind of waltzing around the stage here, and it's a famous double act. So the second and third sort of categories here under the customer experience challenges are how might we manage conflicting commercial and capacity objectives. Just to pull out a couple there, one is around luggage capacity. I think this is a really interesting area. You know, pre-COVID, we're trying to ram as many seats onto our trains as possible to increase the space for customers to sit on the train. Now there's some sort of slightly different challenges where we might need to think about how we can also accommodate luggage capacity on board. Certainly at South Western Railway, that's a big challenge for us. Staff visibility on board as well is really important. Reducing crowding on busy services. We did that really effectively during COVID, but not in the way we'd want. So how do we maintain our passenger numbers but reduce crowding? And then on the final column here on the right-hand side, how might we improve customer experience? Safety and security on board and in stations is really important. That might be for lone passengers. That might also relate to the guard visibility point on in the previous column as well. Also about returning catering offerings for long-distance services. Developing ways to manage extremes of heat at stations seems quite important this week, and certainly for me this morning on my way in. So yeah, some interesting challenges there, and as Ross says, we're very happy to discuss those later today or after this session on another day. This one, back over to you.
Thank you. You can see we're well prepared. So moving on to the reliable and easy to maintain assets. Again, not an exhaustive list, but things like onboard cleanliness and reporting defects. Again, these kind of actually align to a lot of what you've already seen already, and the sort of strategic objectives that have been shown previously. But looking at some other things, not all of us, LNER, we have one depot in Clay Hills Depot, which is in Scotland, and Hitachi actually run and own the other depots. But the beauty of this collaboration is that it's not just LNER, and so if you've got a solution that's looking at depots, we are still interested in that, because we work closely with Hitachi, and obviously we have our own depot, but Northern have a lot. Southwestern have a lot. So again, it's providing that really good opportunity to be able to provide you with many ins into the industry as we really can. And so yes, we'll canter through and move on to the last theme that we'll touch on.
Thanks, Ross. Yeah, so the third and final of the DFT themes was optimized train operations. So there's a further list here, again, about achieving scheduled dwell times every time. So, we can have dwell times of 40 seconds in some of our metro areas, and it's really important we hit that 40-second dwell. If not, it has a massive knock-on impact on the rest of our timetable. And then, yeah, you can see the ones on here for yourself, but temporary speed restrictions have a really big impact. I know for LNER as well, that's been a focus area recently. We have lots more we're happy to discuss outside of this. As Ross said, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of our key priorities for either ourselves, us two as operators, but also the other operators involved as well. Finally, just before I hand over to Ross, I just wanted to mention, back probably to the first or second slide, about another of the reasons why we're doing this. Having previously worked at Innovate UK and worked quite closely with Mark at DFT, I know that one of their objectives, or perhaps even their main objective, is about the commercialisation of projects at the end of the FOAC project, the end of the FOAC time period. So it's really important here to demonstrate that if we as an industry think that, okay, 5, 6, 7 TOCs want to support this, and obviously we look to engage with Network Rail, GBR, TT, etc., as necessary as well, or as appropriate, then we can demonstrate that there is really good industry appetite for one of these projects, and outside of FOAC. So we hope that that would really be quite important as part of the letter of support and first of a kind application.
Cool. So what everyone's interested in, a lovely QR code. But really, how do you engage with us? As I said, this is a sort of a one-stop shop for your sort of route into the train operators. So we've put together a very simple form that we want you to fill out. It just basically says who you are, what's the problem you're solving, and what's your proposal. Please keep them short and sweet, as concise as you can. We've sort of guide of 200 words, please. And yeah, there's the timeline. I have actually put times in as well, which so fitting with the theme of today. So yeah, opens today at 10 o'clock actually, but it's going to be closed on the 16th of July. So that gives us, so what we want to be doing is to be reviewing them throughout this period. So please don't leave it until the last minute, because it's going to be a real big struggle for us to provide those letters of support in the last week. Get those applications, those proposals sent to us as soon as you can, so we can all review them, and we'll be able to then go to the relevant people within our own businesses. Find that support, make sure we validate the problem with them, that it's a priority that they want to have a solution for. And I think, with it being a very much a challenge-led initiative, we want to pretty much validate the business case before we provide you a letter of support. So if we can say, that actually solving this problem provides a value of X to LNER or to the industry, that's going to put you in a hugely beneficial position to be able to then get the funding and then go through to commercialisation, which is exactly what everyone wants to happen. So please do get those, just reiterating, please do get them in before that deadline, but we've left ourselves a week to sort of rally the troops where we need to and provide those letters of support. And we'll get letters of support. Certainly I will provide letters of support. I know Dan can provide letters of support, but we also get sort of counter signatures from relevant directors and things where necessary. So I think that's it. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. I'm sure Dan is too.
Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, we do have some time for some questions if anybody has got any. Oh, we do have some hands. So we've got two there and one there. So we'll just...
Mine is a quick one. When will the slides will be available to us?
Yeah, I'm just conscious there's a lot of dates, isn't there, to try and remember. So we will aim to get them out as soon as possible. I want to try and aim to get them out on Friday by the latest, hopefully. So we've just got two there and then Milda.
Richard Shenton from RDS International. Just a very specific question, one of the bullets you put up there. If you could just perhaps give a... Yes, it was that one there. Perhaps say briefly a couple of words more on what you meant by better use of data to reduce temporary speed restrictions.
Yeah, so if we think about the reason for temporary speed restrictions, so what are the reasons for that? Is it track defects? Is it maintenance regimes? So how can we? Again, it's about understanding the problem, right? And it's so how can we provide new data sets if the current data isn't good enough, or is there a better way of using existing data? And temporary speed restrictions are a huge cause of performance issue certainly for us, and I know for everyone. So Network Rail don't want to be putting temporary speed restrictions in places, or emergency speed restrictions, in fact. So it's really about delivering that better performance and on-time performance rather than, very much our focus, certainly from an L&ER perspective, on time, which is the sort of time to one, is becoming more and more important as a sort of performance metric, because that's what the customer sees, and it's not the sort of the PPM, if that makes sense.
Sorry, the lady behind was first. Sorry, Milda. Yeah.
Hi, never having been through this process before of needing letters of support, I just want a general question. Is my best chance to just ask everybody one?
Best chance, yeah, probably. I think I would advise, certainly from our perspective, if it's a project which involves talks, then and you want to work with the talks that are involved with this, then submit through this form. And there's also an option there, or one of the questions is to list who else you think should be involved or might want to be involved. So there you might want to reference Network Rail or GBR or whoever else you think should be part of that. And we can help facilitate that process because we have those links through the industry.
Thank you very much. My question is kind of to all of the clients that have been speaking. So previously with the innovation competitions, what we hear from our members and suppliers is that there's a bit of a blocker once that that initial proof of a concept is delivered, and what next, that implementation bit. What I've heard from James and Will and Rufus and yourselves, it seems like there is a bit of thinking about what happens next and having relevant directors with the power to actually implement the innovation on the route. Is that something that you've been thinking about? And I guess that's lots of nodding heads. Well, that's good to hear. Thank you. And maybe you can comment on that a bit as well.
I'll nod my head on behalf of everyone. But it's, yes, absolutely. Certainly from the conversations that we've had, there's not much to gain from it for anyone, whether it's us or the suppliers doing a 6-month, 9-month or 12-month project, if it doesn't lead anywhere afterwards. And certainly DFT's ambition and objective is that commercialisation at the end of it. They want these projects to deliver into the rail industry into the future. Otherwise, that's money not well spent from the taxpayer. So yes, that's our ultimate goal. We want projects which we can use long term.
I just want to expand on that. This initial investment, if it goes only, whether it's HS2, Network Rail, East West Rail, and it can be reapplied many, many times from a cheaper for the taxpayer and from a stretching that initial investment perspective, we are all in this room as clients keen to adopt and adapt as many innovations as possible. We don't want to reinvent or create newness all the time. So if any of you are successful and you deliver something with any of the clients here, the opportunity for you to then deploy your innovation elsewhere increases the more visibility and the more of us get involved in it. And if people like Michelle and Innovate UK and DFT can see that the effort that goes into these initial investments are then amplified multiple times, it means that we may get more money released in the future. It means that there'll be more of these competitions, and it'll provide a better ecosystem where all of us in this room will be able to work in a much more effective way. So I just wanted to probably not say anything that everybody already knew, but just wanted to amplify that point.
Yeah, there was another question over there. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, sorry, it's me again with a question about budgets, but you've mentioned how the intention is to take some of these ideas forward. Now, bearing in mind that the project would be completing in September 24, that would mean that budget would be required taking it forward immediately in the year 23-24, for which the submission is this October. Initial submissions. So exam question is an allowance being made in that budget to implement some of these projects?
So I can answer on behalf of South Western Railway. I don't know if LNER and the DFT operators of last resort have a different approach, but we have, as a first group owned operator, we have a annual business plan which we submit to DFT, which outlines our costs for the next financial year. Within that annual business plan, we would want to include, those projects which might be underway from the 1st of April or from the start of April. So it would be good to feed in initial results from any first of a kind projects into that. But there are other routes of funding available if that's not possible. So we can put in separate business cases to DFT for sort of ad hoc funding requests. So it's not an essential, but ideally we'd get some interim results where we could say we've got this really good first of a kind project and we want to take it on in future.
Just to add as well, this goes back to the, validating the business case point, right? Because if you're able to know that solving that problem adds value, whether or not that's new revenue, it's a cost efficiency, or whatever it might be, however you quantify it, which is also a very important part of the project process. Understanding what the world looks like now versus what the world looks like post implementation, and being able to measure that's going to give you the sort of credence in any business case, but two, provide the support that you will need to put it in either a business plan or to go for a separate business case to the DFT, for instance, if it's not in an annual budget. But there is definitely appetite and opportunity to go for investment outside of a committed business plan, for sure.
I have heard this year.
I think just use the microphone.
I was also interested about hearing about these unfunded business cases, and heard that the DFT advice for this year was, that's fine, but it needs to pay back within the financial year in less than 12 months, which is quite a challenge.
No.
Everyone's looking at me because I'm from DFT. Unfortunately, no one wants to hear this. I'm not part of the commercial sort of oversight of the franchise as part of DFT. I'm very much the innovation sponsor for Flex, so I'm afraid I can't actually speak on that.
So just to put it in the microphone, everyone was looking at Mark.
No, there's a microphone here. Sorry, I'll just repeat that for anyone who couldn't hear it. Which is basically to say, sorry, I can't tell you because DFT's big, complex organisation, and I don't actually work on the part that is really to do with the commercial teams that oversee the franchises. So I'm afraid I can't really provide any insight on the funding of things that are that are outside of the programme. I'm afraid.
Yeah. It's always obviously everyone wants to know it, right? Everyone wants to know how can it be funded, blah blah blah. But as far as I'm aware, LNER and train operators have the opportunity to submit business cases outside of a business plan, and if the return is good, then there's a high likelihood that it'll be invested in. So, sorry.
That's great. Thank you very much. We're really going to have to move on now. That's really good to hear about this collaboration. So thank you. Okay, so next up, Matt Bromley, please, from Ariva London.
Afternoon, everyone. I was a bit disappointed you didn't invite me to join your double act, make it a triple act, but I'll give you an overview of what who I work for, Ariva London, and some of our innovation challenges that we're looking for some solutions for. So first of all, I'll introduce you to Ariva because I think my colleague Kaya and I are the only people from Ariva here today. So we're owned by Deutsche Bahn, and Ariva is the brand DB uses for all its operations outside of Europe, outside of Germany, sorry. So in the UK, we operate my employer, Ariva London, obviously, but also Chiltern Railways, Cross Country, Grand Central, our open access operator, and Ariva Train Care as well. We've also run some water buses in the Netherlands, non-emergency road transport services, and various other transport-related things as well. So I'll touch briefly on what ARL is and how we operate, because we're a bit different from the DFT franchises. So we're a TfL concession, so our opportunity to innovate is a little bit different from DFT operators. So we operate the London Overground, the orange line on the tube map. So it's 7 routes, 104 miles across London. There's some stats about passenger numbers and things on there. We don't have a sort of digital customer footprint. We don't have our own social media feed, a customer website, a customer app. We don't control our branding or our marketing. So we can't really innovate in any of those spaces, but we operate the trains and the stations, 82 of them in total, and our control is run by Ariva as well. So we've got, to Milda's question about these challenges, so we've got a few key challenges. The ones I've got, first of all, were actually given to me by our engineering director to give you an idea of sort of importance of them and supporting our business for them. So the first one is about PTI incidents. So we've got some challenges at the moment around passengers boarding and alighting, and objects getting stuck in doors and carried along the platforms and that sort of stuff. So our engineering team is really interested in how we can utilise our DOO cameras on the trains, because we're a fully DOO railway and our stations are all staffed, but we don't always have staff on the platform. So how can we use cameras and AI and that sort of stuff to detect when there are objects close to the doors and identify if it's just a passenger standing there or somebody trying to board. So that's one key challenge we're looking to resolve. Another engineering challenge is around hard to clean areas of our trains. So TfL specify standard of cleanliness on board our services that we have to deliver, but we only get a very limited time window overnight to carry out those cleans, and we're restricted in what parts of the train we can dismantle overnight to carry out those cleans on things like lights and door panel edges. So this is an area where I think maybe robotics could be quite interesting. How could we automate some of the floor cleaning tasks, perhaps, to give the human cleaners time to do some of these more complicated, difficult tasks? And then we've got a new head of customer information who's interested in everything sort of customer information related, but in particular we've got a lot of these kind of two areas here he wants to innovate in. We've got a lot of obsolete or approaching obsolete information assets on stations, particularly our help points, the traditional round physical help points, which are end of life and not particularly well used, and the answering service isn't brilliant. So we're looking for some ideas about how we can improve that, and also around our digital offering on stations, particularly reducing paper. We have a lot of posters we're mandated to provide, but probably aren't used by customers very much. And just like Dan and Ross has said, I mean, that's not an exhaustive list. I've got 3 under 5s at home, so if you've got any ideas about posse training, I'll welcome those as well. If you want to find out more information about these challenges or ARL or the Overground, feel free to email me, or if you've got something you want to submit as a solution, please use the form that Dan and Ross showcased before. And that's me, I think.
Quick one question at all, if anybody has one. Otherwise, you can catch up with Matt afterwards. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so next up is Howard Mitchell from HS2 again. No? Oh, I see. Sorry, I wasn't aware of that. If you'd like to come to the microphone and introduce yourself as well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nano Asebuntu. I'm a graduate engineer at HS2. So my colleagues Howard and John spoke previously about the HS2 specific challenge, the first of the high-speed rail installation challenge. So I'm going to be sort of just discussing some of the other, some of the DFT challenges that we feel are relevant to HS2 and sort of why, because although our main focus on the high-speed challenges, there are still some areas of crossover with HS2. So looking at the customer experience theme, although HS2 doesn't have a functional railway at the moment, customer experience is a big thing for us. So we're sort of working closely with some of the talks, looking at how customers are using the existing stations, using the existing networks, and how we can sort of improve things in for our railway. So some of the areas that seemed most relevant for HS2 were looking at independent travel, because it aligns with our values of having access to the railway for everyone. So it's important to make sure that everyone is able to travel freely and independently, and it also helps with ensure that people have confidence in the railway, knowing that they're able to travel across the UK independently. They don't have to rely on whether it's using specific stations or having specific additional requirements that can affect their journey times. In terms of, just go back quickly. So we also, another area of importance for HS2 is community hubs. So this is something that HS2 are working on at the moment. It's the main stations providing sort of community areas for people that live near the station. So rather than just building a new station and having sort of infrastructure added to the areas, there's sort of providing like walkways and that sort of thing to give the people in the local area more confidence in the stations that are being built there, because it's not just a stop and go point for them. It's something that they can use outside of just travel. And then, as I mentioned before, the public confidence in using the railway, because there's often reluctance to use the railway because of delays, cancellations, and weather conditions affecting them as well. So having us as HS2 having a railway that is, you have a lot of, you have the high speed aspect, so running at 360 kilometers an hour, but also the frequency of the services as well. Like having those two to improve the customer experience is important for us. So we feel those are some of the key customer experience challenges. And then moving on to reliability and maintenance, this is also an important theme, because as I mentioned previously, and as everyone would be aware, HS2 doesn't have a functional railway, an operational railway at the moment, and with the ever-changing weather conditions, it's important to make sure that when we do have an operational railway, it's one that customers can rely on to travel between London and Birmingham and beyond frequently. If you're a commuter and you're traveling up north and down to London, it's important to know that you have regular, reliable services so that you can plan yourself accordingly. So solutions that look to improve the reliability and maintainability of trains and the network are areas that are of importance to HS2 as well. And then the other theme is looking at future-proof designs, because HS2 will be traveling through the conventional network as well as HS2's network. So it's important that designs that we look at now and in the future consider that cross-compatibility between the two networks. And then finally, looking at optimized operation. Again, in terms of service frequency, it's important to minimize human input in terms of regulating services. So by having solutions that provide automatic train regulation, we can ensure that we have the frequency of trains that we'd like to have, so the train services running closely together. And also, if there are any disruptions, because disruptions do occur, it's something that can be quickly adjusted and accounted for so that customers can continue to rely on the services that we're providing them. And that's everything for me, if there are any questions.
That's great. Thank you for stepping in. That's great. We'll see if there's one question potentially before we move on to the next session. Just do a bit. No, that's fine. Maybe catch you afterwards. So thank you, Matt. Well, that was the end of the challenge holder presentations. So I thought that was really interesting, good session, and lots of challenges there for you to engage with. So we're going to move over to the pitch session now, which is fast and furious. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague Peter, who's got a bit more energy than me, to run this session. Yeah, I'll hand over to you. You can explain the rules, and we'll go from there. And then I'll follow up and, well, no, hand over straight to cake and tea and networking. How's that sound? And there's some instructions for you. Thank you, Peter.
Last minute instructions. Hi, everybody. Yes, so we've heard from the challenge holders, and I think now with the pitch sessions, we get to hear from some of the solution providers. So we've got a very strict 2-minute timing for each solution provider. We've got some slides from each person. If I can ask, we'll do it in 2 groups. So if I can ask Neil Fulton, David Shipman, Evan Jones, Anne Leilman, James Semester and Steve Mills to come up, please. Preferably in that order. And take a seat, please. The clicker for everybody's reference when you're up here. It's very easy, back and forwards. So we'll do it in that order, so then everyone's slides will be lined up. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Richard Jones, not Steve Mills. Yes, I will be brutal on the timing. It is a very short drop off the end of the stage, so I can drag you off if necessary. So we'll start with Neil Fulton, Black Country Innovation Manufacturing Organisation. You've got 2 minutes from when you start, and I will definitely tell you when you're done.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Neil Fulton, and I'm Chief Exec at BCIMO. We're a not-for-profit research and technology organisation, a rail and infrastructure testing facility in the West Midlands. Think of us as a brand new proving ground for trains. So what have we got to offer? Well, in our amazing new building, we have an enormous engineering hall that you can see there in the middle at the top, with 2 separate tracks, an inspection pit and a 10-ton crane that stretches the length of the building. We've got a state-of-the-art prototyping workshop as well, with access onto the tracks from there, a 2.2 kilometre test track that goes all the way through a 1 kilometre tunnel, well, nearly a kilometre long, and a unique track feature, which is a 15-metre radius loop for testing lightweight and advanced mobility rail applications. we have 2 test vehicles. One is already on site, and the tram should be with us very soon. And we offer these to our customers for the purposes of research and development, and a range of different level platforms for train design and accessibility projects. Flexible office space that we can accommodate lots of different customers, a fully equipped exhibition and events conferencing facility hosting up to 150 people there, and finally a brand new transport systems simulator, which I'm happy to talk through in detail with you after this. The land on which we operate is flexible in that we can carry out infrastructure related projects on the tracks, but also in the tunnels and the embankments. And why are we here today? Well, we would like to offer the facilities and services I've mentioned to the winners of this competition. The main objective of FOAC is to have a live technology demonstration in a railway environment, and that's exactly what we can offer. What we have is unique. So use us for R&D and for real-world applications, and here are our contact details. Thank you.
Okay, so like Neil, I'm here as an answer to the question, what does an integration partner look like? GCRE is a fairly unique site, maybe familiar to some of you already. We are building a railway test centre. We're not at the same stage the BCIMO is at. We are a construction site. We're in the design and construction process right now. You'll get this slide later, so I'm not going to tell you everything that's on it, but that outlines what we're trying to build. And as you can see from the timescales, we're not even going to have that much railway on there in the time of this programme, but we do offer a construction environment, and for both the second challenge for the DFT ones and all 5 of the HS2 challenges, we've got a great opportunity to incorporate some of that, and we can potentially accelerate some of the rail build if it's efficient, and we can put things in there. One of the advantages to that will also be to think about your route to market. If you can get something that's being demonstrated for HS2 in the ground by the end of next year, we're going to be operating, and I'm afraid Blow Howard's claim to be the first greenfield railway in 100 years out of the water, because we'll be there 5 years earlier. But you'll also get 5 years experience of that product being used before HS2 is using it in anger. So that's one of the selling points for coming to us. We're not going to be able to support every project. We need to talk to you about what you want to do, what you need from us, how we can incorporate it into the build. But we've got 700 hectares, an immense amount of earthworks, some existing railway facilities, and a workforce on site as well. So I see a number of these challenges having a great opportunity for you. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Yes, Evan Jones from Complete Cyber.
Brilliant. Hi, my name's Evan. I'm from Complete Cyber, and I'm here to talk to you about Vault IoT. So I'll start with a problem statement, not applicable to folk, but it is applicable in many ways. So one of the problems we have when we work with rail partners and industry providers is that often we see a lot of security issues with their assets, particularly with rolling stock, signaling, SCADA systems in the power domain. And quite often, there's no real way of actually being able to kind of identify those assets and then have a means to actually identify vulnerabilities and have a central, holistic way of centralizing that data so that, you know, asset owners and infrastructure owners can make informed decisions. So that's kind of the challenge that we kind of set ourselves, and that's where Vault IoT has been born. It's a portable mobile 4G satellite device that's rugged, railway compliant, and the idea is that it can be given power to the operators and maintainers to go into their networks and perform vulnerability assessments, asset discovery, and having that data in a central SaaS platform or cloud platform, if you want to call it. And that way, asset owners and infrastructure owners can be compliant with the NISD compliance, and it will also give them ways of actually ascertaining what their attack surface is. So this is where Vault IoT was born. I've probably jumped a few. Oh, no, I've gone back one. Do you want me to talk about yours if you want? Give you a few extra seconds. The idea is that we want to work with TOCs and FOCs and with infrastructure owners, so obviously Network Rail, TfL. Our product is cross-domain, so it's not just rail. It can be used in maritime, it can be used in highways, oil and gas and utilities, so it's got huge innovation and cross-platform usability. We've also got a product roadmap, so it's not just about a mobile portable device. We've also got a persistent and a virtualized containerized solution as well. So there's really quite a lot of interoperability with how we can use this platform. And we believe that this product, if we can get the support from folk and with a kind of integrator, then we can secure your infrastructure and we can provide better visibility of your asset inventory. Bang, done.
Bang on time. Thanks, Evan. So Anne Nailman, if you'd like to join us, if you could speak into the microphone as well.
I'll do my best. Right. As a Belgian, I'm born on my bike and on the train. To our totally new startup, I bring 20 years of commercial experience. I'm a banker from background, but I specialize in resource and waste management, and I am totally empowered by Tosif Ali, my co-founder, who has a PhD in AI, ML, and computer vision, and excellent entrepreneurial skills. We are backed by a UK Innovate UK grant that will take us for the next few months, and we're looking for the next stage. We want to look and believe that we can disrupt the railway industry by focusing on predictive maintenance using AI and computer vision, so that we can combine information also obtained by sensors. We have a very holistic view on this because we want to combine the predictive maintenance with a concept of digital product passports, but also add value by addressing things like health and safety and compliance of all kinds. So, having listened to everything this morning, I'm really just standing here and say, we believe in a total back-to-front strategy. That's what I've done with all my previous projects. And hence, I am not here to tell you, this is our solution. I am here to ask you, what are your day-to-day problems? I'm looking for a partner who tells us what it is we need to solve before we come up with a solution. And that is really all I want to ask today. Please approach us and tell us we want to listen. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Anna. There we go. So yes, I'd like to introduce James, from Unipart. I'll give you your 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So I'm James Semester, Technology Director from Unipart. We're a large and diverse organisation. Some of you may recognise some of the brands, some of the organisations that form the Unipart group on the screen. Our skills and competence cover signalling, rolling stock and infrastructure technologies. And we've got a very great track record, I believe, at bringing innovations along to market. Why are we here? So I've indicated with the green tick where I think we've got in-house capabilities that we can bring to bear. Very interested to hear from the problem owners about how we can bring some of those. But equally interested to hear from some of the organisations that are looking for either an integrator or a route to market help. We can do those things also. Please come and speak to either myself. I've also got 2 colleagues here. If you just want to raise your hands, Colin and Henry. Please do come and talk to us. Thank you.
Perfect. Getting through these quickly. So I'd like to hand over to Richard from the University of Birmingham.
Let's see if next works. Look at that. Fantastic. Good. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Jones. I work for the University of Birmingham Centre for Rail Research and Education. We are the largest academic-led railway R&D group in Europe and here in the UK, so you should be making use of this capability. This slide, which I hope you can read, tells you about our technical specialisms, but while you're attempting to read that, I want to tell you about 2 things. Firstly, the laboratories and facilities at our purpose-built building, which is close to University Station. Yes, we're the only university who's got their own railway stations. That's a pretty good start, isn't it? Strong for us, modelling and simulation. We can model any type of train you care to mention, even one that doesn't exist. You give us the parameters, we'll model it. We can do that running on any railway, so any geometry of railway you care to mention, under any kind of signalling system, and then underneath any type of control and management system on top of that. And we've actually got 3 different cab simulators to go with it. So we can model anything that you think you can create, we can model it. We have mechanical and electrical test rigs, including a wheel rail interface rig and a pantograph testing rig, and a whole bunch more stuff that doesn't fit in 2 minutes. Secondly, important to you is our capability to broker partnerships We have collaborative working agreements with more than 50 major global OEMs who are looking for partners, including SMEs. And if you are an OEM, then we have links with hundreds of SMEs across a range of programs, but most recently over the 5-year DigiRail ERDF program. For clarity, our roles here are that we're both a research organisation and an integration partner. So get in touch, email, phone, LinkedIn, or even just come and talk to me today if you're stuck for something to do. Here we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Right, that concludes our first group, so you're all now free to go. Thank you very much. If I can get our second group up, so Kailash Manora-Selvin, Andreas Zachariah, Emily Kent, Mike Lloyd and Hugh Gibson. Excellent, thank you very much. I'll hand to make sure we're talking into the mic still. Moving over. Yes, if I can hand over to Kailash Manora-Selvin, so from Spatial Cortex Technology.
Did you know 1 in 2 frontline staff suffered a musculoskeletal disorder or a manual handling injury last year? Every year, the UK rail industry lost tens of thousands of working days and hundreds of millions of pounds due to MSDs. In addition to the huge financial, productivity, and compliance impacts, MSDs affect the long-term health and well-being of staff who are crucial for the success of the industry. Conventional methods for managing MSDs have exhausted themselves, and the MSD injury rate has hit a plateau. At Spatial Cortex, we have developed a revolutionary wearable technology that helps understand and prevent MSDs like never before. Our technology is a TRL5. We are already working with Transport for Wales and AMI Infrastructure Wales and validated our technology in a range of tasks in live operational environments, in train maintenance, track maintenance, and at depots. We have recently been accepted into Elenia's Future Labs Accelerator program, where we'll be looking at new use cases like onboard staff who are a lot more customer-facing, delivering excellent customer services. We are bringing to market targeted solutions for risk assessments and risk prevention that helps health and safety teams of train companies protect their staff from MSDs before they occur. We are looking for trial partners to engage with and also funding opportunities to support our next phases of R&D and commercialize our product. The ultimate benefits are cost savings, productivity gains, improved operational efficiency, and ultimately health and well-being of staff. I'm Kailash, and Jess is sat there. Please get in touch if this is of interest or to find out more about how our solution can help you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kailash. And next up is Andreas Zachariah from Travel AI.
Right, good afternoon, everyone. So we all know about eyeballs and cookies when we think about the web, and a good way of thinking about how the transport industry understands its customers and how they use the multimodal choices is a bit like eyeballs were a measurement or a KPI in the web industry 20 years ago. And cookies give a much more detailed account of how someone traverses across the web and the internet. At Travel AI, what we do is we help understand how people use transport systems. We have a bit of software. It sits inside an app in a phone. It uses GPS and accelerometer, and it creates an end-to-end multimodal profile of the user. It's effortless for them because they don't have to have any data entry, and it's effortless for the TOC because they can just drop in this piece of IP into their existing customer-facing software. And here's the fun part. If you are Google or Meta, they know far more about how people move around. So it would seem like the TOCs are actually perfectly placed to have this data, to understand their customers better, because you are the providers of the services. So you're not asking something unusual. And there are people who want to help transport systems work better. So you're helping to create a feedback loop where you can understand the end-to-end journey of that customer, because it's not just about them using your TOC, it's how they are using other TOCs, it's how they get onto the rail network, it's how seasonality can impact those choices. And ultimately, we all know that some of the most successful products and companies are the ones that understand their customers better, who can start to foresee what the customer's problems are, or who design services around the customer's needs. And that's where we fit in. We want to help TOCs to better understand their customers. We want a more cohesive, joined-up view of how transport is used by all of us. So we're looking to work with the TOCs and integrators who can see the utility around this. Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks, Andreas. Next up, Emily Kent from One Big Circle.
Hi everyone, afternoon all. Nice to see friendly faces here and meet new people today. I just wanted to start off by saying our first introduction to rail was through an SBRI launch like this in 2019, just before the pandemic. It made a huge difference to the contacts that we could create, that we could grow with in the industry, and we've been able to deliver some real innovation since then, largely based on the relationships we've built in meetings like this. So it really is testament to an SME bringing something into the rail industry and delivering innovation. We are an SME that are experts in intelligent video, so we're really independent and agile in what we do. This slide here is just a sort of smorgasbord of some of the different innovations that we've delivered over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, and that's from a standing start. And without knowing anything about rail, we worked with end users and people that had challenges and put together systems with other partners and other collaborators to make some solutions, to trial them out as proof of concepts, and ultimately a lot of those are now in real, robust environments with a real range of clients, predominantly across Network Rail, with multiple operators as well, other partners, and some of those are now being exploited in other territories as well. So we're all about getting ideas together, understanding what the challenges are, and then turning them into reality. And in the last few moments, again, we just like to show lots of images of the different things that we do around the track environment. And based on what we've been talking today, we're about getting data and making it valuable to people, enabling them to understand their assets and giving them intelligent insight through machine learning. It's multi-purpose and we have a really open approach. So we're all about collecting and using data multiple times. And how could that solve people's problems? How could they understand more about their assets, their location and other environment? And aggregation and collaboration are our watchwords today. So I'm staying around for a bit afterwards and look forward to talking. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Emily. And now Mike Lloyd from Junction.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Mike Lloyd, Managing Director of Junction. We help the industry to run the railway better using underutilised data. So we've got one team that combines digital technologies, data analytics, rail expertise and customer-focused design to implement on-the-ground operational change. We've been working in improving operations in disruption and customer experience for a number of years now, and these are our areas of interest for First of a Kind 2023. Having been previously awarded and delivered 3 projects in previous First of a Kind competitions, we are basically here to look for specific challenges and partners to work with on proposals for the new competition that's been announced today. So I'll summarise the areas that we've been working on to show you where we might be able to help with your challenge of relevant experience. The decision support tool we've developed mashes up a lot of real-time data and has a real-time database, live running data, predicted arrivals, trust, GPS and so on. How could we build on this capability with others to address the disruption challenge? In customer experience, we've built a data-driven system to deliver live information in disruption to frontline staff and passengers. How could this be built on and used to help address the customer experience challenge? And then finally, we've developed a passenger assistance which uses a unique multimodal journey planner and passenger assistant, which has already won a number of grants and awards. We're particularly interested in neurodiverse passengers and those with non-physical disabilities to try and improve their customer experience and encourage this group who use the railways less than others to use rail more often. How could we work with people to take this forward and meet the challenge of increasing revenues? So we've a particular interest in AI solutions to these problems. We can provide system integration and route to market, and that's how you can get in touch with us. Have I finished? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Mike. Unfortunately, we do have to cut people off at the 2-minute mark. Yes, if I'd like to get Hugh Gibson up from Trimetis. Trimetis, yes. Close enough.
Yes, thank you.
I'll give you your 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So my name is Hugh Gibson. I work for a company called Trimetis, and somewhat oddly for today, our key selling point is that we don't actually have a demonstrator. But that means that we can help you. We come from a human factors background, and if your demonstrators involve people in some way as users or doing data input, then we can help you to understand and measure the benefits of your system. As we heard this morning, that measurement of what you're doing is a key part of the process, and it's one that we can help you with in human-centered systems. Why Trimetis for this role? So as human factors specialists, very much what we do is the design and evaluation of systems. It's just in this case of rail innovation, we don't have a demonstrator at the moment. We have 25 years experience of railway human factors. Up until the end of last year, I was head of human factors at the RSSB. But we also have experience of working in other challenging environments, such as defence, cyber and security, and working with engineers, AI specialists, data specialists, to get that human integration done effectively. As I've said, the key thing is that we can help you measure your costs and benefits. Also, as the picture on the right demonstrates, it's very important to understand context of use as well, and that's something that human factors can provide for you, and also support usability. Also, to help you implement the design and risk assessment elements of the human factors rail industry guidance note, GEGN 8613, potentially useful document which it might be useful for you to work with during the process. And also, importantly, our evaluation solutions are scalable. So depending on the size of your challenge, we can design the type of evaluation which is right for that context.
Cool. Thanks very much, Hugh. That was it for our slided presentations. We have got 2 more with no presentations. So if I can ask Mingfeng Rang to come up. Oh, you doing? Yeah, 2 more. Are you coming up? So yeah, 2 more on the day, brave people with no slides. So yeah, if you come up to here, you get 2 minutes as well. Introduce yourself and your name.
Okay, thanks for this opportunity to stand here speak on my and my group's behalf for the pitch. My name is Mingfeng Wang. You may call me Ming. I'm from Brunel University, London. So basically, it's the west of London. I'm here to pitch our work on the train fluid service robotic systems. So in our group, we have been working on this area for many years, and previously, we have the Professor Mark Asserton developed the first prototype called Cyberfluids. I will share the slides and the videos in the in the slides later on. So we have been working on this to particularly dealing with controlled emission toilet. So in the previous several years, we developed first prototype, and after I joined the Brunel, we have been further developed adaptive to the depot and let's say easy operation robotic system to mostly dealing with the ECT, and next month we will have our first trial with a section and the module of our system with the Chiltern Railway in Ashbury depot. So which means in the lab we have did so our system. I have the quick look of the rail industry readiness level this morning. I have said our system is reached to that high level RL5, so which means our technology is kind of ready to be deployed, and we are here to look for the collaborators from like the depot, the depot owner or any company who are interested in this kind of technology to implement it. And feel free to come to talk to me. I will be around. And thanks again for this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ming. We do have one more. That was my fault. I missed it off the list. So I can ask Lawrence to come up. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and I'll give you your two. Hopefully the slides will come up.
Okay.
Press next.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi. So I'm Lawrence from Factory. We design electronics for IoT, particularly for high volume, cost sensitive applications. So top left is the BBC microbit, a board with Bluetooth provided to every 11-year-old in the UK to help them learn to code. And the first batch was 1 million units. Next across is the Nissan Leaf battery, given a second life for static energy storage. Top right is it's a main socket that alerts a carer if a lone elderly person changes their behaviour. Running across the bottom, what we actually do, we design circuits, provide the physical build and the firmware, particularly if it's a challenging radio job, such as getting a signal out of a pub cellar. Obviously, something close to my heart. What we plan to do is build on our low-cost Bluetooth experience. Top left is a 2014 proposal that was to data mule sensor data from the Milton Keynes Redway infrastructure. At the bottom is a digital worry bead. It was for mental health applications, but was also considered for logging customer sentiment during rail travel. So I live between Bedford and Milton Keynes. I will lay claim to be already living on a section of East West Rail. We're helping Sparsh, Vikram, give us a wave, to apply new advances in the latest version of Bluetooth, that's 5.4, to simultaneously inform customers, such as the community rail hub type applications, but also use that as a mechanism for channeling data back from remote assets. So we'd welcome conversations about any information that anyone wants to gather or deliver. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence. You get the extra 2 seconds because I forgot. Thank you to all of our presenters for your solutions. Everyone's going to be hanging around for the networking afterwards. So again, a round of applause for all those guys, and I'll hand back to Michelle.
That's great. Okay, thank you. That was a good session. Thank you, Peter. So that's the end of today's briefing, competition briefing. So I hope you found that useful. I thought it was very good, actually, and I thought there was lots of interesting presentations and lots of information to digest today. So on that, we will try and get the slides out to you as soon as possible. I'm going to try and get them out on Friday. If you're absolutely desperate, you can go on YouTube, Knowledge Transfer Network YouTube, and you will be able to find the recording for today's. But that will also go out to you, so look out for an email from Olivia regarding that. Again, my email will be on the slides as well if you need any assistance finding a partner. Just with the application as well, if you want an extra pair of eyes over it, that's something we can do as well, and I'll get that distributed to the team to support you on that. That just leaves me to thank you very much to you for travelling today to come here and for attending, and thank you very much to all the speakers. So can you join me in thanking the speakers? Thank you. Sorry. have a safe journey home, but please feel free to network until 4. And thank you very much.